Greetings, everyone. Welcome.
What up? Ooh,
Welcome
baby.
to a unusual Saturday recording of Turtle
Yes.
Soup. Yeah, we're back in the saddle. So thanks for everyone for tuning in. Again, this is Turtle Soup, the internet. Nay, Ryan, I said your thing. Nay, because you normally say nay. I don't normally say nay, but I did this because it's a new day. It's a new.
What
nay.
are you, a horse? What is this?
Apparently. Yeah. Nevertheless, one way or the other, this is Turtle Soup, the world's only listener-supported podcast, community-supported podcast, fan-supported podcast.
Ooh.
The only one dedicated to the ongoing journey
dedicated, hardcore.
of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all the way from the beginning until I ignore a vision I received from the one, the only Stone Cold Steve Austin, where he's wearing a Patreon-exclusive Turtle Soup koozie as a mask for COVID, apparently. And he is giving me a pep talk to tell me that my back problems that caused me to miss our normal recording of the show on Thursday, where he's giving me a pep talk, Ryan, to tell me you can do this right before he's about to chug the little cans of soda. Like, what are the mini cans of Coke?
The 8-ounce cans?
Yeah, the super tiny ones. Like in my fever dream.
One of those?
Yeah, 3 of them. He was trying to do 3 at once in one hand, and I'm like, well, he's like, if I can do this, you can record the show. And I'm like,
that sounds like that came from the astral plane, bro.
It did. I dead ass think that Austin or Steve Austin told me this, like, from the astral plane, and I'm the better for it. So, anyway, thanks again, guys, for listening, and thanks again for everyone who joined us on YouTube before the show for the pregame stuff. That was a lot of fun. And so we are, if you didn't know, and as I just mentioned, we're live on YouTube. So you can come hang out, come subscribe, come like, come do all the fun stuff that everyone tells you to do. And we got a lot of stuff going on here, and we got more in the future coming down the pipeline. So it's going to be the place to be. But anyway, the beautiful thing about YouTube is that you can skip all the garbage. So, like, if you don't like the stuff where we talk about ourselves or what's going on in our lives, and you just want to hear our thoughts about the Turtles divorced from our own personal thoughts, you can do that at YouTube. Just go over there and just hit the skip bar, and there you go. I try to have some of the links to do that, so where you can just go in the description and do it. But I've been slacking lately. But I'm trying to get that up and running. But yeah, that's the place to do that if that's your thing. But there's a lot of other cool stuff going on there, and it's really neat. But I also
Warning.
Okay.
Warning. Do not try to skip forward during a live video, a live stream of each episode. That could get really dangerous.
Yes, absolutely.
You do not want to try that.
We do not recommend
I'm telling
that.
you're watching on your phone.
Yeah.
Tap twice on that right side when it's live.
And there's no.
You don't want to go in the future, man.
You don't.
You don't want to know.
It's dangerous.
You don't.
It's scary.
I'm just saying.
Terrifying. Yeah.
I feel like we need to have like a little bit of a CYA here, like a warning.
It's true.
Turtle Soup does not endorse trying to travel into the future
to
get past the personal garbage on the live stream.
Absolutely. We messed with future internet files before back in the day.
We did.
A long time ago.
Did.
A long time Turtletarian fans will
never do it again.
Yeah, remember. But no, never do it again. It is a
never.
wild, dark, and scary place. And
it is.
Just having said that, there you go. So we had to CYOA. So there's that. But speaking about covering our asses, some of the people that are the most important to us on the internet, in the world, in life, are our patrons. And we sincerely, like, they mean the world to us, and the show wouldn't be here without them. And just want to thank them. And so for being there. And I am slacking so much, dude, because I had all this planned, and none of it is here now. So
while you're looking up the special patrons,
yes,
I
thank
have
you.
something to say.
Say that, please.
We want to give a gigantic shout out to one of our own Turtletarians, Mr. Sam Lofty, or Lotfi, excuse me, who just had his variant cover of TMNT number 117 come out.
Oh yeah,
and Sam is all over the group and listens to the show, and we love his artwork. And Sam, you're awesome, and congrats on the variant, man. That's sick.
Absolutely,
looks great too.
Yeah, it is really cool. It's a little late, so if you are new to the show and new to the group and everything, be sure to go to Facebook and check out the Turtle Soup group, which is where a lot of the stuff where we put a lot of the news of what's going on with the show. That's most of the time where you'll be able to find it.
Yep.
And I believe I shared it, or someone else did, or he might have even shared it. But it's definitely a few back. But definitely go check that out because that's it's really cool when one of our own is getting to do like legit turtle stuff, and it's fantastic. And I get super giddy seeing that because I'm like, because you can only imagine like working for I might be projecting a little bit, but like I could see myself in some when you know them, when it's not just a name on a paper, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like when it's somebody that like you've talked to on the internet, like me and Sam have had conversations before, and it's like it's so personal that I can feel his excitement or like his joy, and I love sharing that with people.
Oh yeah,
and
for sure.
yeah, it's a great thing, and it's super fun to be excited about things like that, and especially when they're as good as he is. Like stuff is like fantastic.
Yeah.
And so
you should go to your FLGS FL God, like
what. I don't know what I don't.
It's not Friendly Local Game Store. FLCS, excuse me.
Right.
Go to your place near you where floppies are sold, and grab TMNT number 117, and snap those variants up. You know what I'm saying? Boy Sam. You know what I'm saying? Get it going.
So yeah. So but speaking about things that get things going, our patrons get these things going, and we want to. They get me going in more ways than you know, and you know we appreciate that.
Excellent.
And two very special ones for this particular episode are John Klein III and Ryan Bolton. So thank you very much, y'all, for supporting the show and helping to keep us from saying clang, which we've almost said a million times already this episode, but thankfully we're getting through it, and it's all due to your contributions and your support. So we sincerely appreciate that. So but Ryan, can you tell us where we're at in the journey today? Because it's been a minute.
On this episode of Turtle Soup, it has been a minute. And thanks, everybody, for your patience while we go through our various string of awful luck when it comes to our physical health. We're good right now. Who knows?
Right.
So today, we are back to comics. Baby birds.
Finally.
It's happened.
Woo.
We are out of the strange world of things on video you forgot about from the 90s. We are back into comics you may not know from the 90s.
Right.
We are in 1995 and 96. We're kind of splitting the game. We're doing some crossovers here. We're going to be covering the Savage Dragon TMNT crossover number 1 from 95. Savage Dragon 22, which is the continuation of that story that was first told in the crossover number 1 issue. We're going to be flashing forward to 1996, covering the Creed / TMNT number 1 crossover, and then doing a TMNT Savage Dragon Playmates toys mini comic that was packed along that with some of, I believe, the Jim Lee Turtles
yes.
toys that the turtles in their Jim Lee looking situation are featured in this comic.
Oh yeah.
So we'll be doing comics. This is the first time on the live show with visuals. We'll be doing comics once again. If you are a podcast listener, definitely head over to YouTube and like check out like the format and how it works. So we've always wanted to be able to give you guys the visuals of what we're looking at. You know, the TMNT comics are full of such awesome layouts and awesome work, and we've always just had to kind of describe it. And now we have the ability on YouTube and stuff to actually show you those panels and frames we're talking about that we're breaking down. This is our first time doing it, so it could be a little sticky as far as presentation goes, but we're going to get through it. Definitely give us any feedback on how that looks and what you guys would like to see visually out of the comics in the future, because I am like all the visual stuff for the live show on YouTube has really like been amazing, but I've kind of really been waiting for it to show comics off. That's been my like thing I've been kind of really looking forward to, as far as like what can the new format kind of bring. So we're going to be doing that. So if you're a podcast listener, swing by and let us know, and if you're watching it on YouTube, just you let us know in the comments how it goes. But that is where we are in the journey. We're taking care of a bunch of crossover comics, TMNT plus Savage Dragon, Creed, other people. But I don't know. I mean, where are we today, Eric? Where are you
today?
brother?
Well,
How you doing? Today.
I've been better, but I've been worse than this as well. So for those who are unaware, I have been having sneezing attacks, like or well, more like allergy attacks, the last couple years. And more so recently, they keep getting more and more aggressive. A couple of weeks ago, we weren't able to do the show because I had one of those, and it was looking like we weren't going to do the show because I was not in a. My face did not look like something you wanted to see, not like it does normally anyway.
No.
But it was far worse, and so it would not make for good podcasting or YouTubing. So we were on the verge of saying no, we're not going to do it. And then I was on my side on the couch. I sneezed and I bruised a rib, and that was like the end. I was like, yeah, I can't do anything. So yeah, so we called the show that time. A couple weeks later, so Ryan got sick a couple times. Well, one time, and then you were gone.
I was on vacation one time. Then I got a freaking terrible cold on that trip.
Right.
That knocked me out the next week.
Right.
And I was like trying to like recover. I was like, I put like literally every ounce of my time into just recovering because I was like, I cannot miss. Even though as the days went on, the cold was no better, and I'm like, I can't like miss another episode.
Right.
Like, and then your boy Eric.
Yeah.
Don't worry, baby birds. Eric picked the slack up on the next one. He was like, I'm good.
Right. So yeah. So
I'll be the bread to your sandwich, Ryan. We'll get this done.
So yeah. And then this week I had the same. It happened that day. So it was Thursday morning. I got up and I was like, oh goodness. So this is gonna be a thing. And I thought that, and it's been times where it's like a day and a half, and it's been times where it's just been like a day, maybe. So we didn't know until it got to the end. Well, I was at the end of my work shift, and I had a sneezing attack, and I got like 7 sneezes, and I felt it, like the force of me going forward to sneeze all the way down.
Number.
I know that blessed number. So all the way from, the force of it sneezing all the way down my spine, all the way down to my hip, my right hip. And yeah, I was done. I was like, okay, that's it. Yep. Yeah. And I know that feeling.
Falling apart.
Now, this is a different feeling than I've had before when my back goes out. It's a little lower, I believe. So some of the symptoms, some of the things that I've been able to do have been varied a little differently, which is kind of an interesting thing when you have this trauma that happens regularly, and then you have one that's similar, and you're like, oh, well, I could do this, but I normally can't do this. So that's kind of neat. Trying to find the bright side in pain, I guess. But yeah, I was on my feet for most of the first day.
You're so emo. The bright side of pain.
The bright side of pain.
That.
Yeah, that's my next record coming out. But
it is.
But yeah, I was on my feet for a while the first day, and then I was finally able to get into bed. And I think I explained it to you that a lot of it's the fear of something like the pain happening again. And because your body's just on high alert, so that's a lot to overcome. And then there's this feeling of like a cramp, or like when you get a Charlie horse, like when you're in bed or whatever, in your leg, and you can feel it coming on, but you it's like with the Charlie horse, it like stays there and it's stuck, and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta move. But the thing is that with my back, like I can't move. So if I have that, I just have to push through it. And thankfully, the ones that it's still terrifying, but it's like they don't last too very long, but it's still just like unnerving to go through it. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. We've been able to, I've been able to sit up a lot longer. So I was like, all right, I felt like 2 days was going to be enough. And it seems like it has been. So yeah, so hopefully we'll be able to make it through the whole show without me standing up and you can seeing how like crooked I look. Yeah. I mean,
he prefers sitting in a chair.
Oh my goodness, that's a deep cut. Ooh, Lordy day. I was telling my wife that I'm evil as shit because I'm so crooked, and she just shook her head and said, "No, you're not funny." And yeah, I went back to bed. But yeah, so how you been, man?
I've been good. Recovered from Nurgle's plague. Got over that, and then wound up. Since I got back from this trip, nothing has been easy. Like, work's been insane. My daughter had an eye surgery on Friday, and it's like a corrective thing they do to your muscles on the outside of your eye. because she had one eye that was kind of like, well, I guess both eyes were starting to drift a little bit, kind of like lazy eye kind of thing.
Okay.
Like if she wasn't like focusing them and was just like kind of just looking, they would just start to wander.
Right.
So that's just caused by muscles in your eye that are like just really like over strong. So they had to go in there and do that. Well, you know, she wound up being put under general, which I mean, I've never had a kid under anesthesia before, so that was a thing. And then basically it's just been kind of nursing her back. It's kind of funny. She's like a little blind mole now.
Oh my goodness.
Opening her eyes while she's recovering hurts kind of. So she's just been like feeling around and like just spending a lot of time with her eyes shut, and it's actually incredibly cute. She's like, Dad, is that my drink? And I'm like, yes. And then she's like, good. And then it was really great. But yeah, so she's doing well, but that's been kind of like my whole like end of the week was worrying about that, and then my weekend so far has just been kind of making sure she's good. That's been pretty much all that's going on. Getting back into the hobby, modeling a little bit. Ordered some NASA rockets, some old Mercury, the Mercury Redstone and the Mercury Atlas, the first two manned launch vehicles in NASA history back in the late 50s and early 60s. So ordered those model kits coming in. So we're doing that. And yeah, I'm excited to get back to the plastic crack.
That's
my
awesome.
version of plastic
crack.
Your
version of it, right? Different from mine, but still plastic.
So it's gonna be a lot of fun. The cool thing is though that I am trying to embrace a lot of the Gunpla mentality when it comes to assembling these models. So I've decided instead of doing it the way I normally do, like the 40K stuff, which is I've always been team super glue or bust. Like I don't like plastic cement. I don't like it. I never have. I've just been like super glue is perfect. Because you can use super glue on metal, you can use it on plastic. It doesn't matter. Resin, it's all good.
Right.
But I'm going the plastic cement route because, like those Gunpla bros, I need to have no seam lines. I need to and these are like rockets. That it's just like a Gundam that you like put two halves together, and then you're gonna paint it a glossy white, which is gonna show any kind of seam you have. Usually, like I gotta admit, with the 40K models, I've been actually kind of spoiled. Games Workshop makes the absolute best miniatures in the world.
Okay.
They hide seam lines like crazy. Like they're so good at it. And usually you have to clean some stuff up maybe, but like even then it doesn't show. They hide them really well. Well, you can't hide it on a rocket. Not a rocket. No. That's just called a cylinder that comes in two halves. Yeah. So I'm embracing. So I decided, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna start watching a bunch of like Gunpla dude videos where they get into like getting the Tamiya plastic cement going, like how to like smooth things over. Learned how to make sprue goo. You ever heard of that?
Oh goodness, no, but it sounds fascinating.
You basically, I get this and I'm done. Basically, what you do is you take thin or extra thin Tamiya plastic cement, and you know that plastic cement works by like melting. It actually melts the plastic and welds it together.
Right.
You do that. You cut off pieces of. You take some of that, put it in a little glass thing, a little glass jar. You take some of the pieces of the sprue that are the same color as the obviously the piece, and you chop little bits off and put them in there and mix it up, and it melts that stuff, and it basically makes a half plastic cement like goo that you can use to literally fill in holes and cracks like in models, and then sand it, and what it basically fills it with its own plastic, like the seam lines. It's
right.
I don't know.
Yeah,
like,
that's neat.
That was pretty cool. I always heard of them using sprue goo because a lot of guys in Gundam don't paint their models. Like they're as they come. They're plastic. Like they're just different colored plastic, but they want it to be seamless. So they can't cover up any kind of like putty, like white putty on like a black model. They can't cover that up with paint. Yeah. They have to so they make sprue goo to actually and they sand that down, and it looks like it was like one piece, like molded like a leg or an arm or something. Yeah. So I'm gonna be using maybe some of that, but I'm really excited about that. I'm excited to get back to the plastics. That's been pretty much me, man. So are you ready to move on to stuff? We do have an email / excellent video from our man Mike Hatfield, although we are going to save that for next week.
Yes.
But I wanted Mike to know, Mike, you're a legend. You know what I'm saying? Our
Yes.
Australia correspondent, long time. I mean, this guy adopted a sea turtle in our name. I mean, your boy Mike is a turtletarian through and through. He made an excellent video pertaining to Pizza Hut, which we are going to get into next week when our technological pants are not down.
Correct.
Now, are you ready to move on to comics?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Comes now, Turtle fans, the return to comics.
The return to comics.
This is TMNT and the Savage Dragon crossover issue number 1 from August of 1995. This comic would run you, and by the way, this is a Mirage. By the way, this is a Mirage printing. Now, now the sequel, we're gonna Savage Dragon 22 is an Image comic, but this is Mirage. It would have run you 275 pennies in the U.S. when it came out, or 375 pennies in Canadian pennies. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
What do you think about this cover, Eric, off the bat?
I love it. I think it's great. It's got awesome color. It looks like Mirage. It's got like a ton of energy. I don't know what's going on. They're like the turtles
explosions.
Yeah, that explosions. That's all you can say. That's all it is.
Fire things.
And Savage Dragon looks fantastic. Like this is just excellent work. It's the. I mean, some of the proportions are a little weird, but that's that's the 90s for you. That's where we're getting into in the 90s, where things are like, because if you look at Leo,
I'm about bad. Yes.
Yeah, Leo's proportions look a little strange. He looks amazing, but I don't know. He's getting in that pose, but yeah, the only negative thing that I'll say, if I had to say one negative thing about this, I don't understand why they're covering up Mikey's face and Raph's face. It seems a little weird, like. Because Raph's sai, his hand holding his sai is in front of his face, and Mikey has an open hand in front of his face, and I'm like, that just seems odd to me that you would just have them cover.
That's an interesting nitpick. I appreciate that.
Like if this was a photograph that someone took, like I could understand that, but you have the literal choice to like change this, and I don't know.
Yeah, no, I think in this style, and this is a Michael Dooney cover here. I feel like part of the style is that it is caught in mid-action. Like
that's true.
I think that's part of what, and especially because those things are on the periphery. I think that's kind of what sells the action. If you actually look at it, besides the fact that like the turtles' bandana, the ends of their bandanas are flowing in the wind, there's really nothing to tell you that they're moving necessarily, except for their poses. So I think that some of that is supposed to be like this was a kind of a snapshot. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
I think it's great. I'm a big fan of like the black work in this in particular, with the light source at the in the bottom left corner.
Yes.
Just the shadow working is so 90s, and it's just just gives me all the feeling. Like I love it. And actually, as far as does this cover actually happen in the comic? Yes. You know what I'm saying? It passes that test.
It does.
Which many comics do not. And if I had to have a nitpick, if you listen to the show long enough, that's one of my biggest nitpicks. I used to die. When I used to go buy a comic, be like, oh shit, Green Lantern. Oh, he's rolled up under a train. Oh shit. And then I read the comic and that never happens. It used to kill me when I was a kid, man. And it still kills me now with comics.
He's rolled up under a train.
Yeah, like under a train with like Sinestro on top. And I'm like, oh no. Oh, Sinestro done rolled that train up on him. Yeah. And then in the comic, it's like, never. I'm like, well, then why?
Yeah,
why would you even do that? And I understand sometimes, like, if it's just more of like an interesting cover, or even like, especially if it's an alt art cover, that's fine.
Right.
But like, they sell you something that never happens.
Precisely.
That's all I'm saying. And here, they don't do that. Here, this conflagration goes down eventually in this comic. You know what I'm saying? So we'll go to our credits here. So this is technically Mirage Comics presents Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and the Savage Dragon. You have writer, penciler, and inker Michael Dooney, letterer Mary Keller. You know her from her work on Adventures. Colorist Steve Levine. Editor, can't afford one. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's editing this book. You know what I'm saying? And then Color Separators is another appearance of Altered Earth Arts.
Oh yeah, we've seen them before.
Which is kind of an AC Farley joint. We have Ellen Sullivan Farley, Patricia Beck, Peter Lawson, and AC Farley credited with Altered Earth Arts. Another appearance. I guess Altered Earth Arts had come into their form here in the mid 90s, right? The end of Mirage and going forward. But yeah, this is from August of 1995. So we open up, and you know, I'm gonna say I'm a really big fan of the art in this book overall, and I like a book that there's a lot going on with the framing in this comic, and this is like you open the book, you know what's going on. You've got Raph, just talking about how much he hates trains. And there's a little bit of an introduction to him in case I guess you're picking up the comic from the Savage Dragon point of view. If you're like, oh, I'm a Savage Dragon fan, but you don't know much about the TMNT, now you kind of know. So he is traveling, and you see him on a train. He's traveling into Chicago, and it basically tells the story of how things got started like that. So you see the Turtles back in the lair, like hanging out. They've got the TV on, the national news, I guess, and they're kind of hanging out when they see a news report that the Wayland Ferris, I believe that says, Scientific Research Center.
Yes.
Wayland Freese, whatever it is. Research Center got blown the hell up, real bad. They caught an image of the assailant, and it turns out, Eric, if you want to pop me on page 3 really fast, it turns out it's someone familiar. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is your boy, Complete Carnage. You know what I'm saying? Complete Carnage is back. Now, I got to say, when I saw this, I was like, I'm about this. Because, Turtletarians, so basically, if you don't know, Complete Carnage and Radical go back to Tales of the TMNT number 5. It's one of those really cool side stories that actually starts in Tales, but winds up wrapping into Mirage and all over the place. They've visited these characters many times, but the basics here, and the reason the Turtles are like holy spit, you know what I'm saying? Like, is because back in Tales of the TMNT number 5, Complete Carnage and Radical are two characters that were introduced that were both struck during the same lightning storm. One of them was a very seen as a very cantankerous construction worker.
Yeah.
The other was a college student just trotting through the park basically on a jog. They both get struck by lightning, and two very different things happen. One, the girl wakes up to find out that she has become Radical. I can't remember if she self-glossed herself Radical or what, but she starts off as effectively having like Superman powers. That's the closest power set she's got. She has limited flight. She has super strength. That's kind of her powers. However, Complete Carnage is a lot more interesting. So he is vaporized. Like your boy is actually vaporized. He comes back in this form. He looks kind of like a gargoyle almost.
He does.
And he winds up he winds up traveling through, I believe, electrical lines or some kind of man-made thing. And remember, at this point, Complete Carnage doesn't know his power set yet. He is like his id is like in these power lines, like running through them. Like I just died, but I'm not dead. Right. So he doesn't know what the hell's going on.
Right.
He winds up taking form at this classic cult hangout, little cult place outside of New York City, because they got everything outside New York City. You walk just outside the perimeter, you can find anything.
Regular or menthol.
Site, regular or menthol, anything you want.
Right.
You could also find family there. You know what I'm saying?
You could.
Depends on if you call it family. I mean, it really, that's on you.
That's on you.
But he winds up manifesting at this little cult temple where they kind of train him to use his powers. He comes to find, and I honestly think that Complete Carnage has one of the coolest power sets in comics. His ability is he gains power and can manipulate man-made things. Right. So concrete, steel, stuff like that, like man-made buildings, man-made structures, stuff like that, man-made materials. Not only does he gain power from them, but he can translocate through them.
Right.
In an excellent fight scene in that comic, the turtles go to battle him, and he is literally popping out of walls in this building to punch them.
Right.
And then when they fly across the thing, he comes out the other wall and like pulls him into the wall and gets him stuck in the wall. It's like a whole 9 yards. Like he's power set is pretty off the chain.
Yeah, and I love that power set, or at least in the way they use it to that effect, because and a lot of time you'll see your protagonist or whoever is against that said person who is using those types of powers. You see them in a mode of panic because everything they know is being turned upside down. Like I imagine Batman being in this situation quite often, that it's like, oh, this thing that I used to be able to use as like cover, as like a form of safety, is now actually the antithesis of that it is a weakness. So I have to change everything. And it gives me a headache thinking about that, because when you're reading something, if you try to personify yourself in any of those characters, it's like having to like readjust to that has to be like a nightmare. Especially if someone's using it who knows how to use that to great effect, is trying to murder you essentially. I can see that being very frustrating. But to your point, I love when they do things like that. Yeah.
So the big fight ends in Carnage being literally blown into bits by Radical. They both again appear to vanish, and we see at the end that one of Complete Carnage's arms is trying to hitchhike back to the other parts of his body.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like a little comic twist at the end of the comic, but they leave things there. Now they do come back in Mirage. I won't get into that. There is a sequel, and all you really need to know as far as this comic goes with that, because you can go back and check out our reviews of that, where we go into that in more detail, is that Carnage, never really comes back together. He's still flying around. You get a feeling that like his pieces are coming back together, like from all different parts of the country, but you have no idea how long that'll take.
Right.
And Radical does wind up kind of moving into like a spiritual plane where she reconnects with her ancestors who were Native Americans, and kind of like once she gets connected with that, she becomes a being of the spirit world that the turtles interact with and stuff. She winds up becoming one of those, and spoiler alert, we will see Radical as well in this comic, and that kind of gives you a little background as to why she is all of a sudden just in spirit land hanging out. That's kind of what happened with her. But really cool. This is a really cool callback, and obviously the turtles are like not happy. In the comic itself, you can see the editor's note referring to TMNT number 27, which was the second appearance of Complete Carnage and Radical, where they thought they finally had gotten him for good, but not really. So in this becomes the classic fight between Leo and Raph. The Raph wants to go do something. Leo is like, "Hey man, chill out." We've seen this before. City at War, all these things, and it turns out Raph does the Raph thing and he leaves, because that's what Raph does.
That's what he does.
So Raph pieces out, gets on the train. Now we're back to where we are. He's on the train, trying to go to Chicago to mess with Carnage, and also he kind of wants to team up with Savage Dragon, because the Turtles and Savage Dragon have teamed up before. They know of each other,
right?
So he's like, well, while I'm in Chicago, I might need his help, and then we're gonna take care of this. Well, while he's on the elevated train that Chicago is so well known for, it turns out the whole thing collapses. The elevated trains tracks collapse, and Raphael is sent, hurtling down to the Chicago streets. And he hurtles down into a group of characters, which I must admit, upon reading the comic, I am not mega familiar with Savage Dragon's universe, panoply of characters, if you will. I believe we looked them up
we did.
to at least be able to name, because I believe they are all right here. Like, they're presented in this way. This basically all of the characters are like in this one like full frame panel.
Right. Yeah. One is so you have a giant guy that is very muscular, obviously the muscle of the group. I believe his name is Rock.
Yeah.
There's a character sitting on top of him that looks like a very hairy humanoid person that is named Beast Boy. There is a woman with who presumably is a woman, has a shape of a woman, long.
I'd
white,
say.
Yeah, I'd say. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the point. They're trying to show us very clearly that in the 90s, this is what a woman looked like. Dead ass. Like, you walking down the street in Chicago, if you saw this, you'd know that was a woman. That was a woman. Long, extremely long white hair, some of the Booster Gold goggles, and a very revealing outfit with a bunch of webs on it. Her name appears is Widow. Or no, is that right? Yeah. No. Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Then the next character is one that we see that looks more like a Wolfsbane kind of character, like a what is the term? It starts with it ends with a pine. It's like a
Lupine.
Lupine. Thank you. Yes.
Lupine. Yeah.
And that character is called the Shrew, and so
the Shrew.
Yeah, I don't know.
I wonder if they ever get mixed up and people call Widow the Shrew.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking. That's what crossed me up.
You're shrewish. And I mean, yeah, but I think all the spider webs tell you that she's Widow.
Right. And so but that's their names.
It's a cast. It's a cast character. Eric looked that up. That was one thing I did not have time to really get going on the research on this. I was like, I'm gonna screw this up. There's gonna be people that like Savage Dragon. They're going to hear this and be like, yeah. How do you not know? It's like 4 characters. But I didn't know them.
Well. To our credit, the thing is that it doesn't do the typical thing that you would assume that comics would do, or that we've been taught that comics do when they introduce new characters. You get the little rectangle that's brightly colored that says, "Hey, this is this person. This is that person." You get introduced to them.
You get a little intro. Yeah.
Right. Instead, all of this is just it's in dialogue and it's mixed in and stuff. So it's a little convoluted, but nevertheless, that's their names. So
that's the fam that he winds up breaking into here, and what results is some fighting, but we'll see that later. So now we see in New York that the rest of the turtles are kind of wandering around. Looking to go to the Museum of Natural History, where they know to find a Dr. Raven Shadowheart, who is actually radical now in this world again. And she is hanging out, and she's quite the sight to see. It's good to see Radical doing so well. Coming from the college kid that got zapped in the park and all of a sudden has superpowers, to astral plane, to living her best life as Dr. Raven Shadowheart. You know what I'm saying? I'm all about that.
Oh yeah. Now, do you recall?
And she is full up.
Do you recall if she was in this image? And forgive me if I'm being stereotypical, but it looks like there's a lot of Aztecs, a lot of Mesoamerica, a lot of maybe even Native American stuff. And forgive me if I'm butchering all this. But do you recall if she had that? If that was who she was back in the day, or is she? Do you know? Does it feel like she's appropriating this? Like I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
No. So in TMNT 27, where the second appearance, she is 100% reconnected with, I guess, her ability to go into the spirit realm and her ability to connect with her ancestors. Yeah, has basically given her whole life a different meaning.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I guess part of the message is or part of the idea is, very seldom do we live our lives kind of on an island, and very rarely do we actually get to commune with all of our ancestors. And I think she had the opportunity to do that. So she's moved full on into that in real life. You know what I'm saying? She is it's a complete change on her side.
It was a radical change, if you will.
It was a radical change, but getting struck by a bolt of lightning. You know what I'm saying? That'll probably be the next thing that'll stop us from doing an episode of this show.
Oh yeah,
one of us will get struck by lightning. And you'll be in the burn ward. I think I'm good. I think I can do it. I'll be can you do it? I believe so. I believe so. Is what you'll say.
That's exactly what I'll say.
But yeah, so back on track. Your girl, looking good. living life. You know what I'm saying? And I'm
Mm-hmm.
all about it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So she does explain to them that that her power set has kind of changed a little bit, and all of a sudden we're back in the spirit realm. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of a sudden she's like, "Bam! Check it out! You want to my office now? Look at me." It's really good to see the Michael Dooney treatment on her. It's great to see a character come from being having such a basic origin to really becoming so fully fleshed out over these
Absolutely.
comics.
Yeah.
But she effectively is talking about how this council she's now a part of that's on the spirit in the spirit realm. This council has kind of decided that she could only really manifest her spirit in that spirit realm, like her power, really. And when she's in real life, she's got to be just kind of like normal human, like no superpowers.
Right.
And they're kind of like, well, that sucks. And she's like, yeah. But she's like, so I can't fight him basically because they're coming to her like, you were the one that punched him up into the stratosphere and like blew him up last time. So like,
can you do it again?
how about we run that back?
Right.
And she's like, no, these guns are in the gun locker. You know what I'm saying? They're in the gun safe. Like, you know what I mean? Because the council told me so.
Right.
But she does give him some information. She says basically that the limb, the errant arm, the hitchhiking arm from their first appearance, was recovered by scientists, and was basically the scientists were able to regrow Carnage from his arm. But because that arm only was a bit of his power, the Carnage that is currently around is not the same person. Like, he's basically an animal. Like, imagine if you took like 25% of your life force and just multiplied it to be 100% of a being. You'd be 25% yourself.
Right.
And apparently the 25% they got was like real bad. You know what I'm saying? And was basically an animal. Is what she basically. So she says her main point is this is not Carnage actually. So like when you go to fight him, he's got all of his powers. Like he still gets all of his powers from like man-made materials and all that shit. So he's scary. But you're not fighting the same man that we fought. He's a shadow. He's a clone.
So
effectively.
So what you're telling me is he's not complete Carnage.
Well, for 90s purposes.
He
must be.
He must be because if he's just regular Carnage, then he's then
someone's in court.
Right.
So he is complete Carnage.
Right.
You can call him incomplete Carnage if you want. I mean, you could do that too. But that is basically the skinny of what they learn. Right. So going back to Raph, it's fight. Effectively, like, they just start fighting Raphael. Apparently they don't know who he is. He sees the shrew, and he thinks for a minute he's Master Splinter, which I think is hilarious.
Oh, yeah, that was great.
And then he realizes that's not the case and throws the shrew away. They're all fighting, and this is one of those kind of like unavoidable fight things that always kind of bother me. I mean, like, I guess, being a lifelong DC fan, I'm used to every time the Justice League meets each other again, they all fight. And okay. But those are my guys fighting, though, so I kind of care a little more. Whereas here, it's like, what's happening? And Beast Boy turns into a huge beast. That happens. And a lot more fighting occurs. We see Widow. It's just Widow now. You know what I'm saying? It's just Widow now. You can't say the B before that. I almost said that.
No,
because we'd also be in court. You know what I'm saying?
There's
Widow.
there's a lot of thin lines we're walking.
There's
on
a
this.
lot of thin lines. You know what I'm saying? So we see Widow's some of Widow's spider powers, some of her web powers, and of course all of this is broken up by your boy Savage Dragon. You know what I'm saying?
Goodness, can we talk about Savage Dragon for a second? Like how did that's a handsome man. I'm just saying. That's a handsome dragon man.
They have to paint that shirt on him, right?
They have to.
Like, I mean, that's just paint. That's just body paint.
I mean, Chicago PD had to realize at some point that not only because he's a destructive force, like not just like physically, like he's wrecking you too, like in a lot of ways. But like he wrecks the city quite often, but he'll wreck his shirt. So they got to think that paint has got to be cheaper than buying this dude new clothes. So he's gonna get messed up anyway. So just paint some body paint on him, and then there you go. And just get your what's the person that does the profile pictures? Like is there a name for the people that do that? Oh, he looked like this, and they draw the person's face at the police station. What's the name of the person that does that? You know, sorry, I didn't mean to put you on that, but it's not a caricature, but it's the person who's like, you go in and you describe them what they look like, and then they draw what you say. But I cannot think of. There's a proper term for that. That's driving me nuts. But I would imagine
I would have known it. I would have actually just spouted it out had you not said, "What's the name?" Because I saw you go in there, and I was like, "What is it? What is it? What is it?" I know that
because I feel like that would be a job that like, you know, they'd probably like transition as you get like more into the 2000s, they'd have that as probably like a superhero.
We're gonna call that person a Coptoonist.
Coptoonist. Perfect. Thank you. Coptoonist.
That is a Coptoonist.
Yes, a Coptoonist. So a Coptoonist would have been like, the chief comes and will be like, hey, we need you to, you're doing a great job, but I need you to go paint some clothes on the Savage Dragon. Can you do this? And theoretically, I mean, they're probably just going to say yeah because you want to keep your job. So, and you go and do it, and you learn on the job. Kind of one of those things. But I definitely feel like that would probably be a cost-saving maneuver for the Chicago PD. And but he looks great.
That would be a composite artist.
Composite artist. Okay. It's not as that's not. It feels like that's not the title I wanted it to be, but it makes perfect sense. But
it's the title you deserve, unless you want to use Coptoonist, Eric.
I think
composite artist.
I think Coptoonist is way better. So
I think Coptoonist is what we should call him.
I absolutely do.
But your boy, you know, I gotta say, I think this is probably the only part where Michael Dooney's art is a little bit like, wow, is this page? I feel like it's a little extreme.
It is.
His right arm is like why, like it just kind of is. I don't know why it's like that. I know that he typically has proportion stuff with him because he's of the era, but this is a little intense. Also, like, I don't know. I'm just gonna say that when I see this full page here, I mean, I don't know what he's bringing to the party. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the clothes leave nothing to the imagination.
That's true. They do not. He puts it all in front.
I don't know where the print shop is.
Oh,
but it's not there. You know what I'm saying?
I mean,
like,
he might have a different anatomy than us. I mean, he is a savage.
Is he a Ken doll? I mean, yeah.
He might be. There's no telling. It was the 90s.
That's all I'm saying.
The 90s had flip out gimmicks like crazy. So there's no telling where that thing could come from.
Oh, nice. So you're saying it's an action feature?
It makes sense. Yeah. I mean, he's an action hero, feature. Right? So yeah.
Correct. Also, Savage Dragon carrying with him, of course, his ridiculously large Uzi that no man could wield. That's also in his left hand because that's just happening. So he has his big, moment, showing up, and kind of talks to this group of characters, the Underground Freaks, as they're known in the Savage Dragon universe. Talks to them. And they start putting some things together where Raph's kind of like, look, man, like I came here to fight the man, the Complete Carnage man.
Yeah.
And they're like, what are you talking about? Oh, just the Science Center blew up. And he's like, yeah, that probably was connected because it's Complete Carnage. He does that kind of shit. So everyone's kind of talking. And Raph winds up getting a chance to kind of talk to Savage Dragon a little on his own. At that point, the Underground Freaks take their own exit.
Mm-hmm.
So they're now Savage Dragon's on the case because he's like, well, I can't have this cat tearing up my city of Chicago. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is kind of funny that he doesn't know Raph's name on page 14. Yeah. He's kind of like, which one are you again? Rembrandt? He's like Raphael. He's like, oh, yeah, that's right. Whatever.
Yeah, he remembers that they were painters. So I love that he's like,
yes.
Okay, I probably won't see these dudes again. Just remember painters and just shoot in the dark. Just you'll get something right. Yeah. So I love that
So
too.
as they're walking away, and kind of talking about their game plan, and talking about how, like, they're gonna work this thing out, we see Carnage on the rooftop, and I love this. I love this layout for the bottom of this. And you see him kind of absorbing some of that man-made material energy. You know what I'm saying? And he absorbs enough that he flies off the building. And what effectively happens is he jumps down on these guys in this big 2-page splash, and it's just a lot of fights. Your boy Savage Dragon has no issue at all firing an Uzi full bore straight into your boy Carnage with Raph on top of him. It don't matter. You know what I'm saying? He's like bullets. You know what I'm saying? He's just firing.
Yeah.
A lot of great art. I don't mean to flash through it too fast. Page 20 is a great example of a lot of the same work you saw out of Dooney and Company, Rare Earth Arts with the coloring and stuff like that, of like that distinctive look of lighting, a light source from below, and the shading and stuff is really great. This is an example on page 20 actually of what you're getting with Altered Earth Arts. AC Farley's company got really they were one of the first people to really embrace digital coloring. So basically how you would color things in Photoshop versus traditional paint coloring for comics. And you see a lot of the airbrush style in Carnage's underside, his legs, his arms. You see that airbrush style. Now we've also seen this in the last waning issues of the Mirage Volume 2 run as well, from Altered Earth Arts. So it's kind of what you're seeing is a combination, and you're seeing a lot of that early digital airbrush look of the art. And I think it's indicative of the time. To me, I find it very interesting to see some of the earliest examples of it. Which you do see here.
You do, and it's neat because it's one of those things where, like, as an artist, you want to be on the forefront of like any kind of new thing, because if you can break it and make it work, like by break it I mean like being like the first one to make it successfully work in the medium you're trying to use, like that's what you want to do, but you run the risk of it being like kind of like not working. You're showing your progress. Well,
and you can see that proto look here, because while the airbrushing is well done, all of your modern comics are digitally colored, and they don't look like they were done in Photoshop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so you see the style coming about. But I think people are tempted to go back and look at these and be a little bit critical of it. I think they're like, well, I mean, look at that. But you do this good in '95. You know what I'm saying?
And like, I think this is way better.
What's so special about your dad?
Right. Well, I think this is like way better usage of it than it was on the last issues of Mirage Volume 2. Yeah. Like where because that was on the cover, right? That wasn't actually in the issue, I don't think. I think it was just on the cover.
There's some in the issue, yeah.
Was it in some of the issues?
There's some in the issue.
I just remember most of the covers being that way, and I wasn't terribly impressed by them. But but like we had talked about then, it was like this was the some of the first usage of this, so they're kind of getting familiar with it and how to make it work. But I definitely agree that this looks way better here.
Oh yeah, for sure. One big revelation though that does come from the fight, and this kind of wraps the comic up, is Dragon learning the downsides of fighting Carnage. Sorry, Complete Carnage. Ding. In a urban environment, because he's like, well, I'll just throw him into the ground, and Raph's like, that doesn't work. Actually, he gets stronger, and Savage Dragon's like, well, that is a real pain in the ass, because my whole city is made of this shit. And Raph's like, I know, being from New York, it was the same thing there. You know what I'm saying? So they're grappling with that, though, because once again, you're in the middle of the city. What are you going to do? I mean, like, you got to fight him. He's fighting you. You know what I'm saying? But he's bouncing off of the various things in the city and getting power. But I feel like it's important to note that this is very indicative of a way more primal Carnage than your regular Complete Carnage guy, your incomplete Carnage, if you will.
Yes.
He's not using his smarts to go through buildings like he was originally. Like, he's just basically a bruiser that keeps getting power from man-made materials.
Right.
So in that way, he's a little easier to fight, but, you know, he's still really strong. Well, on page 25, we have the glorious return of the rest of our turtles who have showed up to help the situation. Now that they've talked to your girl Radical and they know the story, they got to go get it.
Right.
So they hop in the action, and basically Savage Dragon throws him into an actual building.
Right.
Actually, like classic, like Looney Tunes, like Carnage shaped hole, like in the wall. And the turtles are like, well, that probably isn't. And then as this happens, you see this entire building come like tumbling down on them. And you realize, like, yeah, like Carnage is using that building for power and he's going to knock it in your face.
Oh, yeah.
So it's about to fall down. It's falling down. Everyone's like, oh, holy sh. And that's the end of the comic. To be continued in Savage Dragon 22. Aloha. At the end, though, before we cover this comic, we do get an interesting... I'm glad we actually show these now. We do get an interesting thing that was printed at the end of this, which I love this kind of stuff. This is effectively an advertisement for TMNT Volume 2, Issue 13, which was going to be the last one. And this is them announcing it. It's a little weird, if you flip to the next page, that they pretty much hype it on the fact that it may be worth money.
Oh, yeah.
Little weird. Because if this last Mirage issue of TMNT ever becomes as collectible as the first, then it's only unlucky for those who missed it.
Right.
I'm like, I mean, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. But it's weird because it felt like things shut down real fast. But now they have time to like run an ad in this saying that it's over. Like when they finished 13, they were like, oh yeah, by the way, this is the last issue. Thanks.
Oh yeah.
And you're like,
yeah.
What?
What? Huh?
And now here they're like, well, 13 is supposed to be an unlucky number. The thing is, unlucky for whom? Whoever doesn't buy it. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
But I thought it was...
It's neat. It's neat that...
Interesting to see.
Yeah, definitely. Because, like, you wouldn't think that they would hype up the last thing, but I guess it's kind of... I don't know, you could look at it both ways. You could look at it as being, like, they know that it might be something valuable, so they might be just trying to tell their fans, like, hey, you might want to get this, because I don't think at this point it was a foregone conclusion that they were ending it, so I don't think it would have saved them one way or the other if a ton of people bought it.
No,
but so I think this might have been
Not
like
really.
a hey, y'all might want this, so don't sleep on it. And so I don't know, but it is still very
Mirage.
weird.
Yeah, well, Mirage had lost its ability to really publish its own comics due to the flooding of their studio and a lot of other stuff happening. Yeah, I don't think them just all of a sudden they sell 1 million copies of TMNT 13 Volume 2. I just don't think that would have pulled it out of the fire, really. But at least not for the moment. But but anyway, there's that. So that's the comic. That's your TMNT Savage Dragon #1 crossover, the second crossover,
Second crossover.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I thought
That's
it was pretty good. I love seeing Radical in it. I love that they didn't go back. I love that they tried to go back to do the same trick that they did before. So I appreciate that, and that it didn't work. I love that as like a character building moment. I do know that we see Radical again. I believe it's in Volume 4 of Mirage. She makes a return, if I'm not mistaken. But I love that it didn't work and they have to figure out something else. There's something about like Savage Dragon and the Turtles, not just because they're both green, but like there's something that works with them, I feel like. And I remember the first time we did a crossover, the first time they actually did their crossover in the comics. I think we titled our episode "The Savage Dragon" because it just felt like that issue kept going and going and going, and it just wasn't.
It was a lot. It
was hard to get through. Yeah, this one I felt like was a lot better. It more concise and kind of just like getting to the point, and it just seemed like they knew what they were doing a little bit more, or what they wanted to do. And so I actually enjoyed this a lot more than that, and the art looked fantastic, and yeah, so I mean, I was pretty happy with that. So yeah,
Yeah. So I would say that's that. If you want to move on to the next thing.
yeah. So here we go. All right, Savage Dragon number 22, issue number 22.
Savage Dragon number 22.
This came out in September. I believe it was 95. I think. Yeah, we're still in 95. So and yeah, this would cost you. Let's see here if I could do the whole thing. 250 pennies, and in the U.S. and then 355 pennies in Canada. So Ryan, what do you think of this cover?
So it's so funny because this is like so Eric Larson. Like if the cover for the crossover that preceded this was so Michael Dooney,
right?
This is like Eric Larson being about as Eric Larson as he could possibly be.
Absolutely.
I really like it. I think I really like it because it is definitely going for a bleak kind of visage that I appreciate. So I don't care about the deformity, right? Like that's how I feel. Like obviously if you're reading a comic where it's supposed to be like pretty like on the level and things are disproportionate, you're like, well, this is just not good art.
Right.
Here, I don't care that he's got the Liefeld Captain America chest going on. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It is obviously what it is. I absolutely love the color palette.
Oh yeah, definitely.
The color palette of choosing to put them in those olive greens, both Savage Dragon and the Turtles, is great. Are the Turtles my favorite iteration in their look right there? Not really, but there's something I do love about that like very 90s like rock star image comic style of like the way that Mikey's nunchucks are twirling.
Absolutely.
There's something about that that I really really like. And I am a huge sucker for like a gradient background that's really unique behind art. And that's really indicative of that like 90s era, mid 90s, early like more like mid 90s era of like the digitizing of the art process.
Yeah.
Where they have this and then they just have a digital background. If it's just a regular gradient, it's not good, but the black splatter background, I love this cover. Like to me, there's something about a cover like this that jumps off the stands. Like love the red stroke Savage Dragon logo. Love the image logo in red. Love everything about it. The stark white background with the black gradient. I'm all over this. Like this is the one that it jumps off the stand when you're looking at other comics, and I love that.
It absolutely does. I love the streaks at the bottom and kind of all across the lower thirds. Because that if you read the last or the first issue of this is the continuation of, it's like that's the debris of the city kind of flowing past them, and I kind of love that. Everything you said, I echo. I think it's fantastic. And the like you said, the color palettes. This like instinctively, if I saw this on a shelf and I'm going in and I've got my money in hand to pick up stuff, and there's a part of me,
cash on the hip.
Yeah. There's a part of me that has that instinct where if I had all the moon money, I would buy whichever ones I felt like getting, just like on impulse. And this would definitely be one based on the artwork alone that I would have been like, oh, yep, grab that.
Yeah.
That looks like super cool. I want to read that. And yeah, so this was like on all accounts pretty good. Like you, and then again, echoing you, the weird chest proportions in the 90s. I don't get it. I don't know why. Was that like what if that was the catalyst for all of Image wanting to be started? Was that Liefeld and Jim Lee and all them, they were drawing dudes like this, and Marvel's like, that doesn't look good. You can't, dudes don't look like that, and they're like, no, they do. I'm telling you, that's what it is.
But in our world, in the future, it will.
It will
like that.
Like
and
in 2005,
we'll make our own company.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and because this is the image of a man. That's what a man should look like, and like that's the cross that they bore.
You may not like it,
right?
But this is what peak performance looks like.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You're totally right. I don't know what it is. I don't think I'll ever be able to see a huge, like, disproportionate chest on a side angle like that and not think of Liefeld's Captain America disaster.
Right.
But you know, I don't know what did it. But once again, I'm about it here. I just am.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
come
It's
what
just,
may.
Yeah.
And obviously, we talked earlier about covers, right? Covers for cover's sake's really cool if you're going to go really artistic with it, and that's what this is. I wouldn't want to read a whole comic of this.
Not necessarily, no. But
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big fan.
I am too. So all right, so we got our credits page, and we got Eric Lawson's creator, writer, penciler, inker. We have Chris Eliopoulos. Eliopoulos.
There you go.
Letterer, Ruben Rude, and Antonia Cole, colorists. Janie Wong, editor, and then IHOC, which is credited as Abel Moten. Yeah. Bill Zindel, Leah Rude, Stephanie Krishak, and John Zaya, color separators. We have the studio color group, film output, and let's see, there gets into a lot of stuff in here. You got Garrett Chin, assistant to the chief executive, and Josh Ichihorn, neglected to take Ichord, I'm sorry. Neglected to take bad back into account before getting breast implants. All right. It's interesting that we're having a bad back reference in a show where I have a bad back. That's
if we made comics, there would always be that last one. It would be one of our friends and why.
Yeah, exactly.
It'd be one of our friends and then funny thing is what it would be. And I'm a fan.
It would be the textual version of the Boss Tones hype guy that's just there dancing. Like that, yeah, we would constantly do that in everything we write. And so
how much money did that guy made?
He's got to make enough to live.
Did he get a full cut? When they were on the road, did he get a full cut?
Know. Well, if you're thinking about on the road, then yeah, I think he should get a full cut because he's the one that's hyping everybody up. But like, as far as the record, like, unless he does backing vocals, which I should know this, but I don't. I would think that that's gonna be a sticky situation.
He did do backing vocals. I thought he did, at least live.
It would stand to reason that he would, but that's and there were a couple of bands around here that had a hype guy. I remember back in the day that would be on stage, didn't play an instrument, but was like dancing and jumping around in every show and was on stage with the band. And I always thought that was kind of a neat thing to have, like as a part, someone who's like they're keeping their friend along, kind of endeared you to the band a little bit more to show that they're like humans. But yeah. So anyway, so that's our credits. So now we go into a whole bunch of stuff that if you are not a Savage Dragon reader, you have no idea what we're talking about. Like, so
this is a huge. So basically, this is also what every layout that Brian Michael Bendis ever made looks like to me.
Absolutely.
Like if you want to know, like, and I'm a fan of Bendis, but I'm just saying. This is what I'm talking about. Where I'm like, I turn a page. You turn a page and go, oh, okay. Like that's what. When I opened this first page, I was like, oh, so we're doing
this. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Now, like you said, Bendis does this a lot, and usually to great effect. It's not done terribly here. It's just that this is the third or fourth Savage Dragon thing that we've ever read, and so I don't really know too much about Dragon or anything, so it's very strange that they are using an actual in continuity like number. This is Savage Dragon 22, so like 21 didn't have anything in this. 23 will probably have a little bit of this. But as far as what I'm talking about is the Ninja Turtles and the reference to that, like what's happening with Carnage. Now, 21 probably has all the stuff that we're about to talk about with this block of text here, but it's just strange to see that that's how they're doing it. But who knows? It was the 90s, the Wild West of comics. So there's this character that we're seeing here in the suit is named Cyberface. And he is being released because he's being released because they made a deal basically where that kind of led them to his boss, which is the kingpin, the mafia kingpin in Chicago, and apparently the leader of the Vicious Circle, which is from again our limited knowledge of Savage Dragon. I think that is one of his big bads, like his rogues gallery, I guess, if you will. but they're the Vicious Circle, and the character is the Overlord. That's the character that this guy Cyberface, I guess, gave them information to get out so that Savage Dragon and everybody could go get the Overlord. And so as you keep reading and this is like the classic Watchmen thing where you have the TV screens where the news reporter is giving you all the dialogue, or not dialogue, but the all the text and all the other stuff. So reportedly the Overlord is actually known as, his real name is Antonio Saghetti. And he had he basically gets into a, like, when he goes to get arrested, he gets shot in the face by Officer Dragon, which I always think is neat that they don't call him Savage Dragon. That's just the title of the book. Everyone in the book, from what we've read, just refers to him as Dragon, and I think that's kind of neat. But they're talking about the news is trying to spin it like, is this a good thing? Like, was this a good deal? Because we don't understand why you're letting go of this one supervillain to get another one. And so there's a lot of talking heads from the police angle talking about how sometimes you got to let go of one fish to get a bigger fish. And it's one of those things that you don't like to hear, but it makes sense. And it's like a chess move almost, where you sacrifice one of your pawns to get a bigger player. And so they're going on and on about that, and they're explaining that also earlier today, during they talk about how the Wayland Frias scientific building, research building, was destroyed mysteriously, which we know was because of Carnage and everybody else, like just the fights and stuff like that. That's what caused that, or was the precursor to it. And then they talk about how they don't know exactly who did it, but there's an all points bulletin going out on a creature that could potentially have caused this. And we see a little TV screen of Carnage, or Incomplete Carnage. And so the news reporter keeps talking about that. And then we get introduced visually just to this character who kind of jumps in front of the screen, the TV screens. And this character is fascinating to me. They look like it has the figure of a woman, and it appear to be covered in Doritos or like spikes or something. And I believe that their real name is Sarah, but I think if I'm not mistaken, the actual hero name for this character is Horridus, Horridus, and she looks pretty neat. She is basically an orange character. She has a weird kind of, I don't know how you describe her, Ryan. Like, how would you describe her face? Like, what's her head look like?
So it would be kind of like, almost like dinosaur-like in a way, or like lizard-like.
Yeah.
But it seems like it's so hard to explain. Very angular, like almost like a Star Trek comm badge. But with the nose pointing forward with eyes on it, like almost. But kind of a cool character. Like, I think it's definitely kind of based off of like a horned lizard or toad, like kind of idea.
Yeah,
definitely alien though. Like, looks very like a reptile, but also like human. It's weird. She's hard to describe.
She is hard to describe.
It's a little weird.
But what I love about it is that the art and everything, I want to know everything about this character. Like, I want to know,
no,
like,
for sure.
This did its job. The art did. The weird thing is that without getting weird, it doesn't look like the protrusions on her body are anywhere in her torso. Like, her torso and like just it's all in her extremities except for her head and neck. But the main core of her body just seems to be like what you would presume to be a normal flesh, kind of like just flat. Nothing is abnormal, I guess, about that. So she's there and she just hears like some splish splash, which you turtle soup. We don't forget about the bath. We never forget about the bath.
We know about the bath.
We know all about the bath.
Never.
And so never. So
never.
But we're now. I just want to forewarn everybody. We're going to be talking about babes in this episode, in this issue, because it's on the page. Babes on the page. We're going to be talking about it, and this is what is in here. So if you have a problem with that, you can skip ahead. I know at least one person did. And so there you go. That's that. But we're going to talk about it. So here we go, Ryan. Are you ready for this? Because this is pure '90s like fan. What is it? Fan service, pretty much right here. So here we go.
Yeah.
You turn the page, and you get like full like it's just a woman, just full on woman, just all right there, and the art's pretty good. It looks great. But they're showing you a woman in a basically in her underwear, and this character, her name is her hero name is Rapture. I forget what her let me see if I can figure out what her actual name is. Her real name is Sharona Jackson, and she is a superhero named Rapture. And she is standing. She's not standing. She is on what some of us may remember as a waterbed. Now, I believe, Ryan, you had a waterbed, correct? Did you have a waterbed?
I never had a waterbed. There was an era in my life where I went through like every single friend I had that I spent the night at their house wound up having a waterbed. Like it was just like a nonstop run.
Yeah.
I never had one. My craziest experience with a waterbed though was having to at the age of like 11 or 12 help my mom store a friend's waterbed in our attic. Because I guess she was moving out of her place. Like her and her husband got separated, and she had this waterbed, but she wanted to keep it because it was nice. And it was heavy as hell. And famously, one of my very good friends in high school had a waterbed, and it was an absolute disaster.
Right.
I've never liked them.
Mm-hmm.
I've slept on them more times than I care to count, but I would never own one.
Oh yeah, no, never. I like the idea of them. I think it's neat, but yeah, no. My parents had one, and I just remember not really liking it at all. And then our friend Red had one, and but his was deflated. So obviously, because if you know him, he probably got into something crazy. He had this idea of like, if I jump on this and do this and that, then let's see what happens. And it was probably amazing, but then it resulted in it being deflated. So I need to ask him how that happened the next time we see him.
You should never sleep in a bed that can leak on you.
Absolutely, you should only leak on a bed.
I have woken up no less than like 5 times in a waterbed wet.
Really?
I've been like,
goodness, and it wasn't you.
I was, no, it was always like bad luck or something, and or like in the case of my one friend, he knew he had several leaks, but kept just like patching them with like really stupid like half-ass patches. And one time I woke up and I thought I was sleeping and I thought I was sweating.
Oh.
So in my sleep, I felt like, because it was on my back.
Yeah.
And I felt like I was like, I remember like pulling my shirt off my back and it being kind of stuck to my back and being like, God damn it. But it was hot. And I was like, oh, this is nasty. So I remember I rolled over to put my back like out of the covers so like the air could get to it better and dry it off while I slept.
Right.
And then I woke up and it was on my chest and like stomach. Goodness. And I was like, but I thought I was sweating. And then I actually woke up thinking like, okay, what's wrong with me? Because like I shouldn't be sweating like this. Like this is crazy. Do I have a fever? Like what's going on? And I just wake up and my buddy's like rolled over facing the wall, and I just can see his shirt and the sheets like just like wet. And I'm like, then I thought, oh my God, did like I pee the bed? No. Did he pee the bed? It was this whole 9 yards.
That's horrifying.
Until I went, no, wait, we're in a waterbed.
Yeah.
And yes. And I started sleeping on the ground there to literally not sleep on the waterbed. He's like, oh, come on, you can sleep on the waterbed. I'm like, no, I'm good.
I don't see any real reason why you'd have a waterbed except this character Rapture lets us know why. So she goes on to explain, because Sarah, the Horridus, is curious about this.
Yes.
She's like, what's that? And Rapture says, it's called a waterbed. I just got it up and running, and I'm giving it the once over, you know. I want everything to be just right when my baby moves in. getting this put in the crown, and this is the crowning touch to making sure everything's like right for when, spoiler alert, Savage Dragon is her baby. She continues to say, these beds are the most comfortable thing money can buy. I beg to differ, but she continues, and doing the dirty deed ain't never been more fun, girl. So, yeah, there you go. Doing the dirty deed has never been more fun, girl. For Waterbed, buy it now.
Doing the dirty deed must have been way fun in the year 1987, when Waterbeds made up a shocking 22% of the bed market share in the U.S.
Goodness. Well,
just short of 1 in 4 beds bought in the year 1987 was a waterbed.
That's wild.
Get that through your head.
Yeah, that's wild.
22 out of 100 beds were waterbeds.
Yeah, I can't think of the last time I've seen one.
Crazy to me.
It is insane. Now, I got another question. Where did you buy a waterbed from? Do you get it from Pinch a Penny, or do you get it from like a bed, like a regular bed store? Like, I don't know. How does that work?
I'm sure.
Is it a joint venture?
After they were patented in 1971 in San Francisco, I'm sure that they were. There was probably some gang fights and some situations between the waterbed or the pool union and the bed people union. That they, the Teamsters probably all fought and stuff because it was like you want a waterbed, you got to come to Pinch a Penny, and they were like, no, come to American Signature. They didn't have that back then, but whatever the hell, come to Rooms to Go or whatever.
Mattress USA.
Yeah, I always wondered if you had to like watch out for like I guess you just like fill them up with a hose from through the window or something.
I think
but,
so.
Like I was always like concerned. Also, like I don't know about you, but like the worst thing about a waterbed in the world is getting out of it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Because like the wood sides, like welcome to bruising the back of your legs.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't understand how doing the dirty is gonna. I don't know that. It just seems like sleeping's hard enough as it is. Like, I don't know.
All right, so I can't profess to ever having done the dirty in a waterbed, but what I can imagine is that there probably is some kind of reciprocal motion.
Oh, of the ocean. Okay.
Yes, quite literally, the world's smallest ocean under you, in a bag. In a plastic bag you sleep on, and I imagine that there has to be some kind of reciprocal like force that might assist in the further momentum.
Of
several of lunges or thrusts of any nature.
Okay, that lead to some arrival at a desired destination.
Can you like? I mean, I can kind of head sim that in my head and see that like rhythm getting going.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it kind of like. Yeah, no, I can totally get it. I don't want to go into too much detail, but yeah, I can totally see what you're doing.
But I can see it like working a little better. I guess in like a regular bed, you'd be hoping that it was springy enough to help you with that situation. But in a waterbed, even though we're not going to get into it, but not everything would work in a waterbed very well. I mean, everything. And they also pose a danger to infants, providing a possibility of asphyxiation.
Absolutely. So turtle soup, waterbed soup. That's what we talk about. You come for the turtles, but you stay for the waterbed talk.
You come for the turtles, but you stay for the waterbed discussion.
Precisely. So now, would this be a comic that if your mom saw in this, would she get rid of that? Would she be like appalled? Yes. She would. Okay. See, my question. See, my thing is
this one is if my mom opened this up. I don't know. I think my mom would have read for context. I don't think my mom was not the type that like if this was just laying open on my bed that she'd automatically grab it and like throw it away and I'd be in trouble.
Right.
I think she would like look at what they were saying. Although.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tricky, but then
deed ain't never been more fun.
If she read for context, that might be a little tricky here. But then
that's
the thing
what I'm
is
concerned about.
The thing is that if you look at Sarah's costume, which is
sure,
there's still not a lot left for the imagination there either. but
yeah,
but
that's
it's
different.
just
She's like alien lizard woman.
she is alien
Different.
lizard woman, but it's still an anatomy that's very similar to that of regular human woman. But it's very interesting that it's like if you just remove the middle section of her clothing that and a little bit of the top, then that's where the problem is. I just always love the line where the line is for modesty, I guess.
Yeah, that's like that the whatever it is, like what is it, like Mormon porn or whatever, what I'm talking about? Where they
bubbling. Yeah, bubbling.
Yeah,
where
bubbling.
they take the picture.
Look that up. Just look up the bubbling.
Just look up bubbling. Yeah, it's a thing. It's strange.
Bubbling is basically what you're talking about. Like you're explaining bubbling again, more or less. Because that is, and I agree. I think I've always been a little fascinated by that.
Yeah. So.
But yeah. Anyway, guess who doesn't mix with waterbeds well?
Yeah. We'll find out we'll find out. Because that's later. Little spoiler.
We're gonna find out right now because she wants to get on it.
She wants to.
What's your girl say?
She just says, "Hands off, girl. Don't touch that.
Hands off, girl."
Yeah, that's
not
good. Yeah, because she can see the future a little bit and can tell what's going to happen. So, anyway,
that's real bad.
So we cut to I absolutely love this. It's a 2-page splash of the Turtles, our boys, the Turtles, and Savage Dragon. The Turtles being carried by Savage Dragon to get out of the way from the building that Complete Carnage wrecked last issue, which was the crossover number 1. And they're continuing their use of the word shit, whereas that issue ended with them saying SH, and here saying IT. Absolutely love it. I'm a huge fan of this. And the art looks fantastic. The only gripe I have about this artwork is that 2 of the Turtles do not have pupils, or do not appear to have pupils, which is Raph and I believe it's Mikey, and then Leo and Don, they have pupils, which is very strange to me.
That is a little strange.
But but regardless, it's really neat. Very veiny, which is a little strange, but still looks really good. And but the colors look fantastic. Dragon looks great. And I love the idea of the Turtles being like, anytime that the Turtles are made smaller, like to where you see them as how they should be, which is about 4 or 5 feet, right? Like they're not like 6 foot tall, like monsters, like how they are in the Platinum Dunes movies. No, I hated that. I love it when they're a force. They're a tiny bundle of like energy that you kind of underestimate, and then they wreck your face. But like, I love this, seeing them on a giant, like foreboding character. I love that so much. And so, Dragon is carrying the Turtles to get out of the way of the wreckage that Incomplete Carnage has caused. And so once they do all that, they're like, this is when they start to explain a little bit more to Dragon and to the people who are just now reading this, that didn't read the actual crossover number 1, about what Complete Carnage's powers are, which is, again, he absorbs the force of man-made objects that to give him strength. So with the building collapsing, he's got like a ton of things to absorb. So he punches through and just makes like just this huge epic like exit out of the rubble. And yeah, the Turtles are like, and I don't know if we fully touched on this the last issue, but the Turtles are like, in these issues, they're antsy. Like, they're, at least Raphael is. He is wanting a fight. And now this is typical, and I think you mentioned this when Leo and him get in a fight, or a disagreement. Raph is just like so like hungry for a fight. And what's funny is that once the rest of the Turtles eventually get to Chicago, you can see they want it too. And I love that about this run, or this little bit of Turtles, because this is the old school take on the Turtles, where they're violent. They don't give a shit about killing people, and they're cool but rude, definitely, like 100%. And
you're definitely seeing a turning point, like in them, to fit into the more like mid 90s appropriate level of adult comics, which involved like Complete Carnage.
Right, exactly. And so they
were pretty radical.
They were pretty radical, and and so beautiful art here, like just gorgeous art and color, like it's outstanding. I love it so much. And yeah, I love seeing Mikey just get like a huge like hit right on the face of Carnage. Like that was so cool.
Oh yeah.
Now the Turtles are continuing to explain to Dragon about like, you know, this isn't the real Carnage. This is a facsimile of him or whatever, and like all this other stuff, getting the whole details. But they basically say the bottom line is that he's a menace to society, and they need to stop him because Stone Cold said so. And that's the bottom line. So yeah, then we get something that then the fighting keeps happening, and they fall through to the ground into like subterranean area, and apparently we find out here that the dragon hates sewers, which is something I didn't know about the dragon apparently. But you know, this is like the home turf to the Green Machine, if you know what I'm saying. And so but the panels that we get for this are beautiful, and this is like classic Mirage, classic comics, like if I'm being honest, like the small panels that just show you little brief glimpses of dialogue, but a lot of action and a lot of movement, and it is done to like excellency. Like in my opinion, I think it's just great. Just keeps it moving.
Oh, no, it's an example of the era for sure.
Absolutely.
It's beautiful.
And so yeah, there's it's great, and just I don't know. The Turtles keep talking about like how they just keep shit talking basically, and they're just beating up Carnage. So we eventually get to a whole nother block of text, and this is more explanation as to the funeral for Antonio Seghetti, the Overlord of Chicago's notorious criminal organization, the Vicious Circle. And it goes in to talk about how nobody really showed up because nobody cared. And they show a picture of him, which, if I'm not mistaken, this is him on the far right, where it's the half-split picture down the middle, where he's got his mask and stuff, and then you see him, like, regularly. And, you know, for some reason, God, the ears on these people are wild. Like, they're just, like, massive. And, I don't know, it's just very strange to me. But, they go in talking about the funeral, and they talk about how, what happened to actually cause his death, and how what the thing that happened with Dragon and stuff and whatnot, and then how his like the Dragon's publicity, like his public image and his approval rating, I guess you could say, is at an all-time high now in terms of just the public's opinion, because apparently he had a previous like thing where he freaked out and he had a rampage like that left 13 dead, 46 wounded, and caused an estimated $60 million in property damage. And so apparently he all is forgiven now that he has like got the main dude behind all this crime. And again, I love what they're doing with this character Sarah here, having her interrupt this, like standing in front of the TV, like as a child would, where they're like you're watching the news and someone would come up and get in front of it. Not fascinating necessarily, but like it's a really good way of
layouts. Super cool way of doing it. Love the layout on that. Like it's great. Big fan. And moving on to page 13 or whatever. I want to comment on this earlier. I love Eric Larson's choice to do much of this fighting that happens in this comic in silhouette form.
Absolutely.
From this point on, that is when I saw this happening, I was like, "Oh, I'm about this. Like, this is super cool."
Oh yeah, definitely. And it's funny because it's like it's like so when you're reading this and you're looking at it, you're like, what is he showing us and what are they not showing us? So they showed us a bunch of babes, and they showed us like a lot of skin, and then with the action they're showing us just silhouette. And it's very interesting that like or maybe that's just me, I don't know, maybe it's just me that I think like that whenever I see somebody showing me something in silhouette. I'm like, I try to look at what are they not showing me? And it's like it's the same thing with music. It's like a lot about music is the notes you don't play. And so here is just fantastic the way they do it, and the blood, and it's just it simultaneously makes it less violent and more violent, and that's just one of those things that on paper doesn't make any sense, but in execution is it just speaks volumes in my opinion. And so yeah, the Turtles and Dragon are just getting in lick after lick on this dude. And so yeah, a lot of this stuff is just like all in silhouette, looks fantastic, and like just a ton of wreckage and a ton of fighting over and over again. So yeah, then we get it seems like it's much later in the evening now. We go back to the apartment, to Rapture's apartment that apparently she shares with Horridus. And
this page is so good.
Yeah,
this page is so good.
This is another to the point I was just making, because I was going to bring up Nuff Said, like the first Larry. I don't know if Larry Hama called it that, but I know Jim Lee coined that, or somebody did at Marvel.
Yeah.
But the whole silent issue where you have Snake Eyes break into the Cobra head. No, it wasn't the headquarters, but it was some Cobra facility and rescue Scarlet. Not a word said. Started the Nuff Said whole trend, and this is evocative of that because it's one page, has only one kind of word, I guess, on it, but basically it's later in the evening. Sarah's watching something weird on television, which I love that's just thrown in there. I'd love to know what that was a reference to. But you see her sneaking around, and she's kind of peeking around the door, just like a child would, to do something that they were told not to do. You see that she peeps the waterbed, and we see Rapture sound asleep. We see the shadow. This is the best. That's my favorite one. Is the shadow, like lurking over the waterbed, and you're like,
the hand reaching down toward the bed, like it's so good.
And then you see Rapture's eye open up, like as if she can just sense that something is going on.
Just immediately something's about to happen.
Right, and then you just hear a yell, and then you see, "I'm going to kill you." Rapture is chasing after Horridus, and she's just like yipping the whole way, like running away, and
soaking wet, water running on the floor.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, and it is like, it's great. It's fantastic. And yeah, so it's little to the imagination left here as well, but it's you see a little bit of Rapture's power too. It was. Yeah. So, but you see a little bit of Rapture's powers coming out, and it's and the water leaking out. There's a lot of detail here, and it's done to fantastic effect. So we cut back to the Turtles and Dragon fighting in Complete Carnage, and they're going around talking about like we got to get him away from the man-made stuff, and so we got to do something. But then there's an explosion that happens, and it throws Savage Dragon into Lake Michigan, like way out into Lake Michigan. And so he makes it so you see Savage just being like, or Dragon being like, "All right, I'm coming back." And he's like swimming back. And the Turtles are still like working their way on Carnage, just trying their best. Dragon comes up and he is livid. He is not happy at all. And he does this thing where he picks up Incomplete Carnage, it seems like by the spine, and it says he's like, the boys tell me you get your power from man-made stuff. Well, we're gonna do our best to get you far away from there. And he tosses, like straight up, just like whoop, just tosses just yeets Incomplete Carnage into the water and hoping he could swim. And I love this the subtlety of just these images on the side that are like the frames where the Turtles and Dragon are just kind of like taking a breather and they're thinking about what they just did. And they're like, he's not coming up. But this is to my point about the Turtles being actual savages, where they're your point being, like, we don't care. He's not coming up. Fine, he's dead. Whatever. We kill cops all the time.
Like he's a psychotic animal. He's not even like a real man, like a real person.
Precisely. And so we see Incomplete Carnage making his way downtown underwater town. And this hand comes up and grabs him like by the arm and the face, and he does not look happy about this at all. So then we see that it's starting to sink into Dragon, who is an official like police officer, like has to think about these things, that there are ramifications for his actions, and he's like, I can't just kill the dude, like I can't just kill him. And again, the Turtles are like, why the hell not? Like, why can't you just why not? And I love it. So Dragon jumps, like just leaps like over the turtles and into the water, and goes, finds him, pulls him out, pulls out Incomplete Carnage, and apparently he's drowned. Ryan, the turtles say, "What a wimp. He drowned.
What a wimp.
What a wimp." Like,
pathetic. One of them goes, pathetic.
Yeah, like, these are the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Some dude just drowned. Now, yes, this was a villain, but like,
I mean, he was Incomplete Carnage. He was going to kill everybody.
He was going to kill everybody, but then it's...
What a wimp.
What a wimp.
What a wimp.
I love it.
What a wimp.
I love it. So then the Turtles and Dragon are like, all right, well, it's time to go home. And I love this because a lot of times you don't really see the let's go home part of a lot of these comics and a lot of these fights.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It just kind of ends right there.
It just kind of ends. It's like, all right, until next time. Well, we get more panels of them talking about, like, you know, trying to deal with what happened and stuff like that. And the Turtles start talking about how, like, hey, we're hungry. Like, let's go eat. And Dragon's like, I got to stop by my girlfriend's place real quick. I told her I'd be there at 8, but it's like after midnight now. So I need to go do something real quick before I go do anything else. So they go up there, and Mikey says that he's whipped. Like, which is a phrase that I haven't heard.
Dude, you're whipped.
In ages.
I've heard that in a million years.
And
oh my god.
Yeah, so that's the 90s for you. They show up at her door, and they knock, and she comes in up fully. She answers the door, half naked, fully like just soaked in waterbed water. And then you have Sarah down at the bottom that says, and she's adorable. She's like, look at all the cute boys. And that's, I don't know, I loved that. I thought that was super cute and just really neat. So then, and that's one of the things I love about superhero comics, especially things like where you have characters that are that don't necessarily look humanoid. That a lot of their attraction doesn't matter about like they don't need to have someone who looks just like them. And it's just like they can still appreciate things. And I love that. I just always am a fan of that. So nevertheless, Savage Dragon is there standing with like some roses, and he's talking about like, you know, sorry, had to fight some monsters. These are my friends, the Turtles, you know, blah, blah, blah. Hey, can you give us a second? The Turtles are like, hey, we're out of here. Thanks for your help, but, you know, we got things to do.
Yeah.
And one of the Turtles says, it was nice meeting you. Nice rack. Which, if you're not familiar, I wasn't a fan.
I wasn't a fan of that.
Yeah, not a fan. That's a little much. It's a 90. I always felt like that was a 90s thing.
But you're still an asshole.
You're still an asshole. Totally.
I hate to say it. Some of the babe talk and whatever. Word up. Like, everyone's seen Wayne's World. We all grew up then. We knew what the deal was. But like that is just unnecessary. About, especially, I mean, it's just I hate that. Like, that just bothers the hell out of me.
The only way
like which turtle would say that?
Right.
Like
exactly.
Who says that? Who says that about somebody's girlfriend? Especially someone who looks so like distraught and obviously in the middle of like some stuff going on. Like, who says that walking out?
Who says that?
Whatever turtle that is in this continuity should be like kicked out of the TMNT. Like, why?
Especially,
that's so needless.
Especially in front of the person that they're saying it about. Like, that's the only, and this is like a huge stretch because I still don't like it at all. But the only way I could see it, if they had played it for laughs, where like, let's say that Dragon was in the car and they said it, and then Dragon was like, what? And started beating up on the Turtles. Like they were like doing that, not in front of her. And they were doing it to goat him. That's the only way that I could probably be like, okay, that's better. I don't like it necessarily. I think it's like a little rude.
Dragon,
well, it's obviously rude.
Should have fought whoever said that right then.
Absolutely. But
how do you say that on the way out from your boy Dragon, who you just fought beside?
Right.
Like, like, how does he not go whip his ass?
Exactly.
I hate that.
I hate it too. But yeah, so that's how the Turtles leave the whole situation. And then we have basically Rapture's telling Dragon that, you know, I wanted everything to be perfect for you to, because I guess he was about to move in that night. And so she wanted everything to be perfect, but things just didn't work out. So he's like, just come back tomorrow, go stay. Where does she say? She says, go stay with Frank again. And which is for no context, it's just like, oh, okay, that to go stay with Frank again. And then we turn the page and we see something that I felt like I was looking in a mirror. I don't know about you, but like there's this character that is just like massive, like bigger than Dragon, like probably 2 to 3 times bigger than Dragon.
Easily.
This character who is
This reminds me of like a Todd. This reminds me of like a Todd McFarlane villain, doesn't it? Like this is like
yeah.
This is like somebody Spawn would tangle with effectively.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, this character is massive, and presumably is the character that we saw the hands that grabbed Carnage's face, like in the water. I'm presuming that this is that character.
Yeah.
And this character's huge, and they continue to say it has like the proportions of what we might consider a woman, generally, and this character jumps down on top of Dragon and starts beating the living hell out of Dragon, saying, "You molested my daughter, you freak. You let her die, and now you're going to pay. You're going to suffer. I'm not going to kill you until I'm sure where you're going." And yeah, like basically saying that she's going to make his life a living hell before she kills him, essentially. And the last thing we see is her taking Dragon and dumping him into what looks like a smoke stack from like a chemical plant or like some sort of plant. And just taking off laughing, and she says I love my job, or they say I love my job, excuse me. And that's that for the crossover. And so I mean, now if you're going to want to get me reading Savage Dragon, the one thing you do is you end by accusing your titular character of doing a ton of heinous things and then dropping them into something that's like a huge cliffhanger. And that I think that they ended it pretty well in the sense of like a marketing way, like scheme, like to be like, well, something weird happened to Dragon. I want to know. At the very least, you're going to get the next episode or next issue, I would imagine. But yeah. So what did you think about that?
I thought it was a reasonable conclusion. It was honestly a fight issue. I think the thing the things I liked the best definitely were Larson's like silhouette layouts during the fight scenes. I thought that made them actually very interesting. Sometimes if you just have a lot of fight panels, I think sometimes if you go a little bit too overboard in the art, trying to make them utterly like ridiculously epic, a lot of times it's like sensory overload. I think that I like the subdued approach of the silhouettes. I think I would spend more time on that page, personally, if a fight scene is done in that style. Like if a fight scene is done where I'm looking more at like what are the silhouettes saying about the action here than I am if it's like like one of those old like X-Men fight issues where you're just like, I read this in 3 seconds. Like there's I really like that. I really like the humanity, kind of the humor of the whole storyline with Sarah and the waterbed. I thought that was actually really awesome. That was probably my favorite part of the comic. The little hook there at the end of like, don't you want to keep reading Savage Dragon? Because look, the weird red person thing grabbed him and put him in a smokestack. I really could have done without that. It's like the comic was over. And then it overstayed its welcome with me a tad on that, because I was like, oh, what? Wait, there's this now. But you got to have like cliffhangers, I guess, at the end of comics. So overall, I thought it was good. I thought it was a good follow up to the first one we read, the first crossover. Right. But it was mainly a fight issue. I think my favorite parts were the more subdued parts with the other characters.
Yeah, I agree. I the thing that I had to remember too was that this is an actual numbered like Savage Dragon issue.
Yeah.
So I think
Savage Dragon. Yeah.
So I was a little bit more forgiving on that ending part. But yeah, I totally get what you're saying though about it being a fight issue, definitely. But that's I'd take that a little bit over like just a ton of like exposition and dialogue that we know they're not really going to come back to. That it's going to be just like, okay, it's self-contained, so like I don't need a ton of stuff. So so I enjoyed it a ton for what it was, but art was fantastic. And one thing we didn't talk about that was strange, because I guess I just didn't see it, or else I was going to mention it, but when we were going through, because for those who are still who are new, this is our first time doing comics on YouTube the way that we've been doing it the last couple of episodes. And so I'm trying a couple different things out as we're going, so thanks for sticking with us, and hopefully we're doing a good job. But yeah, one thing I wanted to mention was that they had a full 2-page spread of it was a character. Her name is, I think it's literally just She-Dragon. Yeah, I think it's She-Dragon, because we see her in this next thing that we're going to talk about real quick, the mini comic in a second. But yeah, they have a 2-page like spread of her just on the beach, just chilling. And it's just one of those things that, 90s comics was like, here you go, babes, 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 babes.
It was you had the pinup, and in the 90s especially, it wasn't like a pinup store back in the day where it's like, oh, it's a pinup because it looks real cool. It's like, no, it's a pinup because it's like, a hot chick, basically.
Precisely.
Yeah. It's one of those parts of 90s comics that we can't really like undo, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
It's just part of what you got to deal with. Sometimes, like, especially as it goes forward, I was never super taken by that, even in my young adolescence, where I should have been. I was never really taken with that in comics. I guess it never really got me going. I don't know about you. Everybody liked the occasional Emma Frost or Rogue, whatever. But I found that typically I had crushes on those characters more for their personalities. I know that sounds like I read the articles.
Yeah, it does.
Totally. But I really think that was it. Now, obviously, the 90s, like the super sexualized look of the characters, obviously have something to do with that as well. But I just found that the characteristics of the character itself was always the thing I had the biggest crush on. So I guess that kind of style of like the babes and the pinups it kind of passed me over more. I never found myself really going there for my jollies, I guess.
I don't think I ever
in the era.
I don't think I ever sought it out. Like, I want this. If it was there, I was like, oh, well, that's, in my adolescence, I'm like, well, hell, even today, who knows? I'm like, that's cool. That's doing its desired intent. It's doing things.
Yeah.
But I'm not. But then again, I think it was more of that's a primal like reaction. Nothing wrong with it, but that's just chemicals in my brain telling me that you like this.
Sure.
Well, here's a drawing of this, just so you like this. But to your point, then the characterization of people, like, I'm like, oh, I much preferred that over the sexualization of them. But I could kind of divorce the two. However, it was never a thing like, I'm gonna go buy this comic because it has a half naked version of somebody on it.
You know what? I would say that's probably a good way of putting, I guess, what I was trying to say. It's not that, like, as an adolescent boy, I didn't go, oh man, wow, she's hot. But it's more like, I wasn't like grabbing comics for that. You know what I mean? That's not really what led to my reading decisions, I don't think. It was ancillary maybe to all that. So
Absolutely.
looking back now, I don't have, I guess, a lot of mega fond memories of like formative memories of like, oh, the first time I saw Emma Frost, or oh, wasn't she so hot in this pinup or whatever. I guess I just never really like, that's not 100% what I was there for. But I guess it wasn't bad to have it there. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I'm not complaining.
But when I see it now, and we're in that era, right? We're in that era. When you see it now, it definitely elicits different thoughts in my head. Right?
It does.
I just think a lot about like, so that's how it was, huh? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you go back and you realize that, and it's like anything in nerd culture, there's always this big, like, legion of people asking, like especially back before like the Marvel movies really got big or whatever. You're like, where are all the girl nerds? Like, where are all the lady nerds and stuff like that? And I'm like, well, I mean, I don't know. I mean, we spent the 90s making every woman wear effectively pasties. You know what I mean? Like in every single comic ever.
Right.
So any character that anyone would look up to if you were a woman was being told nice rack, haha,
right,
in the comics that you were reading. So I don't, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it's like, well, you asked that question when you full well took part in what created a lack of like diversity in our environment. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Oh yeah.
I think that's gotten better now, but like going back and looking at it, it definitely reads a little different to me. I guess now.
Yeah.
You know, now I'm older and stuff like that, and
oh yeah, it's the same thing with comedy too. Like we've talked about before, like stuff that we thought was funny back in the early 2000s, late 90s, and stuff like that. Now it's you try to watch it and it's like, oh yeah, no, that makes me that's just very cringy. So
how problematic is like everything that I laughed at in like the year 2000? Like I'm pretty sure all of it was.
Yeah. Sure. So all right. Well, speaking about things that were back then, we're still back then. Let's you ready for this next this next issue?
Yeah. Is it mine? Are we doing mine or what?
No, we're doing mine. I'm going again.
Oh.
Because I have it up.
That's
sorry.
Great.
This is quick.
Sounds good. I'll wait.
You wait. Yeah, it's okay. So I figured you could be the bread, and I'll be the meat in the middle, right? Is that how that works?
All right, we have to do the transition again.
Okay. This
Eric, I'm so happy we're getting into this next comic. What is it?
Oh, what is it? Ryan, I'm so glad you asked me. It's The Savage Dragon. No number. It's just a Playmates toy mini comic pack-in. So, yeah, are you ready?
Again?
Yeah, me.
Yes.
Again. I get to yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, we're going to do it again.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Is this a real comic book? Is this a comic book you could buy in the store?
Well, it depends on what store you're in and what you define as a real comic book.
There you go. I wanted that answer. That's the answer I wanted out of you. So that's what I wanted.
Yeah.
Depends on what store you're at.
Depends on what store you're at. So, if you were back in 1995, you could probably buy some toys at the toy store. We had those back then.
Yes.
For those who don't remember, they were called Toys R Us, KB Toys, and there was a few others, but Toys R Us king among them all. Playmates Toys was another, royalty in the toy aisle. They are the ones who brought you the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of your toys, and they still do today.
The royalty and the toilety.
That works. I like it. Yeah, there you
go.
No. It was close enough. Thanks. I liked it. It was at least a triple double or something, or some baseball term. I don't know.
Sure.
So
triple double.
I'm trying.
Continue.
Yeah. So
continue.
So Playmates Toys were making a ton of turtle toys. If you weren't familiar, if you didn't know, if you weren't alive back then, or if you haven't been listening to the podcast up until this point.
Well, there's a million of them.
Absolutely. So they eventually get to where the turtles make their way to Image, and then that involves Todd McFarlane and all those things and the stylings of all of that, and we eventually get toys of these figures. And Savage Dragon also had his own toy line, if I'm not mistaken, that was somehow tethered to that. There were toys of this, and so this was one of the only comics that came so He-Man back in the day, Masters of the Universe, they had pack-in comics. There was a bunch of other toy lines that have tried pack-in comics back then and since then. He-Man is the one that I just remember the most. And She-Ra, they were the ones that just were predominant to me. Anything else, I can't off the top of my head think of anything in particular that actually had it, but I know they probably existed. So this is in the same styling as that. And it came out in 1995. I'm getting a lot of this information, by the way, from wiki.savagedragon.com, because there's not a lot known about this thing, and I don't even think that they have a lot of the credits page on here or anything like that.
There's no credits in this, yeah.
Right. No. So the one that our cool uncle gave us, there's nothing in it. So from wiki.savagedragon.com, we have the cover was done by Eric Lawson. Did the dragon there was a bunch of different covers, but I think the one we're looking at is let's see, it looks like, because there was a Raph cover, there was a Michelangelo, a Donnie, than other characters in here. But I think the
looks
one
like
where
it looks like the signature is Eric Larson and then someone named Bisley.
yeah, Simon Bisley. So that is considered that one's considered
collabs.
That one is considered battle damage dragon cover. And so that's, like you said, Eric Lawson and Simon Bisley. What do you think about this cover?
It's okay. You know, the beak this character has to say is effectively the size of like a normal person's nose behind their bandana makes that not look like a turtle to me. That makes that look like Crooked Ninja Turtle gang in the future. You know what I'm saying? It sounds like this guy would be like regular and menthol. You know what I'm saying? Like both. Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not Dan, it's Danny.
Right. Danny
this guy. Yeah. He's still back to thinking he didn't know what family is. You know what I'm saying? Anyways, sure, it's a turtle attacking Savage Dragon. I already know that that's not a thing that they want to actually do to each other. So when I see a comic like this, it's just annoying. Like the art, because I'm kind of like, they got crossed up again.
They're
doing the fights again, and they'll figure it out that one day. And this comic also falls into the classic failure of the never happens.
Precisely, like deadass, like this is, and
which is whatever, I guess, but like it's literally a thing that actually doesn't happen. It's not like you took a liberal interpretation of something that kind of happened. This never happens. So I think it's okay. The art's fine. The art is fine. I think Savage Dragon looks a little funny. He doesn't really have the proportions he normally does. And he doesn't really look like Savage Dragon as much to me. But I can forgive it. But to me, it's rather unremarkable. I don't see anything here that really like floats my boat. I certainly don't float like I float on my waterbed with it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm good.
Right. So okay. So our credits are Eric Larson story layouts, Michael Dooney pencils, John Cleary inks, Chris Eliopoulos letters, and then Ruben Rude colors. So we open up on Savage Dragon riding a motorcycle. That's the CPD, Chicago Police Department, and he's just booking it. And they excuse me, they talk about how a group of freaks are fighting downtown. Like he hears about it like on the police call, like on the radio, and he arrives to find that it is actually some people that he knows very well, but two separate groups. And we have a character named Barbaric, who is this, looks like he's straight out of X-Force. He looks like a mix.
He's great value Omega Red without the cool Omega Red shit.
Right. Or better yet, he is the Mexican version, like the one that's like the knockoff. Like you go to the flea market and it's like down like in another country, and they have it like, oh, here you go, here's Omega Red.
You see him in the dollar store, and it's like Red Omega.
Right.
And you're like, this is not.
Yes.
This is not.
No. That's not what I came here. That does not get my dollar. And then you have another character that I was talking about before we got into this. That was in one of the issues of the crossovers that we just read as a 2-page spread, and that is She Dragon. And she's there. She's got the leotard again that looks like it's all metal, long flowing, presumably blonde hair. It's hard to tell in this artwork. And then we have 4 presumably Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Ryan. What are your thoughts on these guys?
Well, for those of you that know the toys like we do here on the journey, you'll recognize these as not being 100% identical, because the Jim Lee Turtles had a lot of weird like variances that like you saw in design versus application. They were kind of one of the, in my opinion, some of the most disappointing. Like, here's like you say you want Jim Lee Turtles, and your mom's like, we got Jim Lee Turtles at home.
Yes.
And you get home, and that's the Jim Lee Turtles you get. Is what came out versus how they were designed.
Right.
These don't look like 100% the toys, but they roughly are the Jim Lee Turtles. So they just have, there's a lot of like Spawnish Image Comics things happening. These aren't my turtles. Like
these are not my turtles.
Like, they're not my
No.
turtles. Yeah, nothing they really say in here sound like, besides "Watch out, Raph," which I feel like is something
Right.
Mikey would actually say normally. Nothing they're really saying feels like my turtles.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say about it besides, look, we got these cool mecha suit things, and I'm like, why?
Yeah. Like,
but why?
Honestly, if they didn't have their shells and their letter insignias on them and the bandana, well, even with the bandanas, it's hard to tell. But this being a Savage Dragon comic, he's predominantly green, so like I don't know that there's obviously other characters that are green in this, so it's very hard to tell that they're the turtles. I mean, if you know, but if you don't,
before. One of the most disturbing things, or one of the things that I really don't like about the Jim Lee redesign for the turtles, is they don't have the front part of their shell. Instead, they have like pecs and abs.
Oh yeah,
and
you're right. I forgot about that. That is weird.
And I didn't like it back then, and I don't like it in more like comic form where you get to see more angles of it. But like, there's just a certain point where they just start to look like the Incredible Hulk. Like,
absolutely.
There's especially in this image of Raph, with his, for some reason, like Klingon war weapon looking size that don't need to be like I love the what if it was $1 million factor.
Yes.
On the size, where it's like, how do you make size more badass? Make them like little swords.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, well, then they would be like Honto blades. They'd be short swords.
Right.
No, but they still have to be a sai. It's like, well, then it's not.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's the whole point, is that sais are not bladed. Like, they're blunt. They're meant to catch blades. Like, stuff like that. It's like, why does Leo have a bunch of chains wrapped around his wrists?
Yeah.
That would only make it harder to swing swords.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's not like, because a lot of them have this mecha thing going on, and like at the time too, it was a big thing to have the Colossus thing. It was like, but what if my whole arm was bands of steel? It's like, well, that's cool.
Yeah.
The thing about your whole arm being covered in a bands of steel is that there's an implied thing of like, yeah, but that's powered, right?
Mm, right.
Like Colossus literally just turns all into that.
Correct.
But I've got a little piece, and that thing is a powered, like, that's a machine that makes me stronger.
Right.
A bunch of chains wrapped around your wrists for no reason other than to look cool.
Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. It's not. I
love Donnie's. I hate to dine it out. I feel like I'm doing like an entire bit on this.
You're great. That's what I wanted to do.
Donnie's staff. Why?
Yeah.
So it looks like Donnie's staff is just made of metal. It's a metal pole now.
Yeah.
I don't know why they didn't just put more blades on that. You know what I mean? I mean, like, why wouldn't he want a pole axe, right? I mean, like, wouldn't it be great if we upgraded him and gave him a pole axe? I'm like, yeah, sure. I guess that was an ancient weapon. He could have fought with a pole axe the entire time, but he doesn't. So I love how they make it. They make it like metallic. They give it the Colossus treatment on it, and then they're like, you know, what'd be really great is if his hands were robotic and it like integrated with his hands. It's like, why?
Yeah, no, it's
why?
It totally loses the character of the character. And
like Mikey looks like he's wearing long johns. Like the whole white, like the white outfit underneath, the white skin tight thing looks like long johns. Yeah. Like why is he wearing long johns?
Why?
Nobody looks good.
No.
Nobody looks good. The only thing, if I had to new drink this shit, if someone said, Ryan, you got to new drink these turtles. The only thing I like about any of this, there's two things.
Okay.
One, I'm not mad at Donnie's like full head bandana thing. I'm not mad at that.
That's kind of neat.
That's pretty cool, right? Like that, and we've seen the skull caps before on the turtles in different iterations, and I think those are cool when they're done right.
Yeah, absolutely.
I am weirdly a little bit of a fan of the domino mask on Raph. I think that's a cool reinterpretation of the whole thing, right? I still don't know why he has bandana ends coming off of the back when he's wearing a domino mask.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
But I do like the black stripes going up over his eyes. I think that's a pretty cool look.
That is
like
neat.
Those the little things you could do, I feel like, to put a modern Jim Lee image type spin on the Turtles, instead of going like, well, he's got Colossus arm and long johns, and what if his size had size? Yo, dog, I heard you like size. What if I made him little swords too?
Right.
End rant, I guess. That's what I think. That page, I don't like anything about anything that's happening in that page at all.
Yeah, no,
not one thing do I like about anything on there.
I am the same way. It is. I wonder if they got rid of their shells because of that comment that Regis Philbin made on when they did the interview with them. Remember when he touched the shell and he was like, "Is this bulletproof?" Remember that? I wonder if that
maybe.
like affected them, like, you know, deep down. So I don't know. That could be why they got rid of them. So yeah, so there's all this fighting going on with these presumable heroes. Because, again, we're not Savage Dragon readers, so I assume, according to wiki.savagedragon.com, that these are also heroes as well, She-Dragon and Barbaric. But, again, classic heroes fighting heroes, misunderstanding things. Lots of fighting happens and back and forth and, just shit-talking one another. And the only notable thing that comes out of this fight is this right here. You have Leonardo. Well, first of all, you have Savage Dragon coming up, and he's like, "Oh shit! Like, I'm seeing my friends fight. Like, this is not good. I got to interrupt." Well, you have Leonardo being attacked by She-Dragon, and she's saying it's time you get out of town, Frogman. Right? No.
Yep.
No. I'm going to cut you down to size. Sorry.
Cut you down to size, Frogman.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm reading this from a different screen than I'm used to, so it's a little hard to read.
Irving Frogman.
Yeah. So Leo's like, you know what? I'm a turtle, and with like I've got swords, lady. I've always had a thing not to fight ladies, but I'm gonna have to make an exception here. And so he starts slicing and dicing, and we see a lot of hair.
Specifically, he says, "I've always made a point not to fight ladies, but I guess I'll just have to improvise."
Yeah, I'm sorry, you're right.
This is the improvise part of, like, I won't fight you, but here you go.
Right, and
basically,
I like this to a degree, because it's kind of funny, which is what it's supposed to be. I think. But yeah, and it turns out he gave her a haircut, and he gave her the Storm Mohawk kind of look. And she is upset because she's like, I just got it done. My hair was beautiful. Like, why did you do this? And so then fighting ensues. It continues. And Dragon finally shows up and bursts, like, through the ground, apparently. And, yeah, he's like, hey, why are y'all fighting? And this and that. And they're like, oh, you know these guys? You know all this stuff? Turns out the Turtles are thinking that that somebody has been kidnapped. One of their friends has been kidnapped. So it's probably either April, Casey, or Splinter. And they think that somebody did it. They didn't know these guys. They just assumed they were part of the Vicious Circle. And the other team thought the same thing about them. And so they're like, all right, well, you know what? Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's go find out who did this. And they're like, let's go. And then there's this huge, like, rallying shot of them all running, teaming up now. And that's pretty much the mini comic. I mean, that's really all there was. And so
that's all there needs to be.
That's all there really needs to be. But given that there were 6 different printings of the cover of this, I felt like they should have maybe had, like, make this a 6-issue mini comic. That, like, have it have a story that it's, like, self-contained and it's, like, all one thing. And I would have appreciated it a hell of a lot more. But unfortunately, this is like one and done, and they're out. Like, they're like, okay, nothing. This never comes back. This is never a thing again. And I kind of, now granted, I didn't like the designs or anything like that, but if I'm gonna read something, even as a kid, like not as a not even just as a podcaster, just reading it now, but especially as a kid, I would have wanted them to, like, I spent time and money on this. Like, I want more. Like, I'd want. It kind of shows like a lack of. It kind of shows a lack of.
Is it weird?
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry, but I get where you're coming from. I guess it's just it's a little bit of a weird flex to do the pack along comic. I can understand. I guess the idea is like, let's be honest, like not only are we making toys to like make money, but we're also
Mm.
hoping that we can like get you into like into other like things that you could get from us, right? Like other
Right.
like get your turtle fix elsewhere. I think it's a weird flex to have an Image comic pack in with
Mm-hmm.
those. That speaks to like almost knowing that like you weren't going to be publishing comics much longer when you did this. And that doesn't totally strike 100% true with what I know about the era. But I think it might have been a kickback for Jim Lee and those guys. I think that like the idea is like we pack in this comic. It's an Image comic. It's got Savage Dragon, which a lot of kids already know about. And we just kind of put them all in there, and we hope you go pick up a Savage Dragon comic
Mm-hmm.
because why not? I guess if you're the guy, if you're the kid, I guess they figured if you're the kid that buys the Jim Lee turtle figures,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably going to be into like Image comics.
Yes.
So maybe that's what it is. You got a toy. They didn't
Right.
charge more for the comic. I mean, like if
Right.
anything, I don't think if you were a kid and you read this, you felt like you were like like ripped off or something. I think that you were just like, well, like that's cool. If you threw it
Mm.
away, you threw it away. If it made you want to get into comics, it did that. But
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of
Exactly.
the day, it really is like of little consequence, right? It's just another. We're gonna fight until we figure out we're good guys, and then we're gonna go at it.
Right. And so, I mean, I appreciate it for that, but it's just it. He based on, especially considering that this has been done better by other toy companies and to great effect, because the Masters books were like huge and they set up a lot of the lore and a lot of other stuff, and you're like, wow, this is substantial. Like, this isn't just something I could throw away because
Oh
the
yeah,
art's fantastic.
yeah.
So they don't really have an excuse unless it's like monetary, but nevertheless, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I figure you should, if you're going to go, if you're in for a penny and for a pound, probably at this point with those. But it's hard. It's hard to
Probably.
say because there's probably some other bureaucratic thing like with the business end of it that we didn't know. But who knows? But nevertheless, there's that. That's, if I'm not mistaken, that is the last time that we're going to see Savage Dragon in comic form, to my knowledge. So unless there's something else that comes up way later in the journey, I
We'll
think
see.
that's the end. So if you want to find out, you got to stick around and watch that. But yeah.
Mm.
So you ready to get into the next one?
Yes, I am. I have been waiting. You could say I've been waiting one whole comic.
All right.
It is time. It is time for them Creed Turtles, y'all. Um, so this is the Creed and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles crossover. This is on Lightning Comics, which Creed was published on, and it was just straight 300 pennies. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't play
Mhm.
with Canadian pennies versus American pennies on this comic. They're just like, guess what?
If you got 300,
And I guess the cover does indicate that it was a direct market exclusive,
mm-hmm.
which is really interesting. So starting out before we get into a little bit more of some of the background on this, what do you think about this cover?
This cover is interesting. I immediately do not like the Creed character, whatever that person is. I it looks like ET to me, and I just don't like it at all. Now, as far as the turtles,
Like Trent Kanuga's like whole design, right? Like
yeah,
a little bit like that's his style.
yeah. I just don't like it. It's the, I don't know, but the turtles, I think the turtles look fantastic, and I am
Yeah,
like the color
I agree.
palette. The color palette on this cover that we're looking at, is amazing. I think like the just the actual title of it, Creed and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that looks great and it just pops. And I
Yeah.
think all of the design work I think is fantastic. The turtles, Leonardo and Raph, look just amazing. Creed is the character Creed is the only one that I could do without. And yeah, but and then besides the fact that it looks kind of like a sketch drawing almost because the bottom part is kind of really not finished. That's
Yeah.
it. But besides that, it yeah, I think it looks great.
Very distinctive. So Trent Kanuga published Creed for a good number of years in the 90s. he was obviously, like had known Kevin and Peter and stuff like that. Another, up and coming independent artist. Now, Trent Kanuga is actually more well known as a a video game art designer.
Okay.
In modern times,
Mm-hmm.
working on Diablo. God, name any like game where art was like key. Like most MMOs,
Mm-hmm.
League of Legends, all this different. He worked on a ton of that stuff,
Okay.
and that is really how people kind of come to know him. This is
Mm-hmm.
Trent Kanuga's kind of like origin story is Creed, his
Mm-hmm.
comic Creed.
Okay.
So we get to the opening page, which it's pretty cool. I'll read some of this here. Says, all right, I'm just gonna come right out and say that the reason this issue kicks so freaking hard is because Matthew Martin did the ink work and then some. And while we're giving credit to where credit's due, let me say that I am nothing without Jamie's friggin' killer coloring. Hope you all enjoy this book. It has been my dream for many years to do the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and stuff. Also, special thanks to Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman for allowing the TMNT to appear in this comic book, and to Lightning Comics and Mirage Studios for fully supporting and orchestrating this crossover. And it says, if you could put the element of time in perspective, this issue was supposed to appear after the third issue of Creed. But unfortunately, the rights to the Turtles were not available after May. So, to go full circle, Creed 3 will be released in June. Future issues will be, in a new ongoing series, will be bi-monthly beginning of September. Pretty neato, huh? There's a send all hate mail and death threats to Trent Creed guy Kanuga.
Right.
So obviously this is like a really cool thing for this guy to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And the styling for Creed, just so you know, which I've did research and found it really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
is capital C REE capital D. That is
Okay.
so the
That's
way
his
it's laid out there
stylized.
is like how it's supposed to be. Now, what's
Okay.
funny is on the cover of the trade where they collect all the Creed stuff together in one trade, it happens to have Creed in all caps on
Mm-hmm.
it, which I thought was interesting when the whole book is supposed to be stylized that way.
Right.
But this is Trent Kanuga's little brainchild here. So effectively, to just give you a small, we'll do credits. I'll give you a small background. So we have Trent Kanuga, who is the creator, writer, and penciler. The previously much lauded Matt Martin on
Mm-hmm.
inks, Jamie Hood, colorist, James M. Anderson, letterer, Imaginist Productions, computer graphic design, Joseph C. Zykowski, editor, and Joseph A. Zykowski, which I don't know, and Stephen Z. Zykowski, publishers. I don't know if literally those are two Zykowski brothers with different middle initials, like they're both
Right.
named Joseph, but that
Could
may
be.
be the case.
Right. Could be.
Typically, like one thing that a lot of people do when you get in that situation is one of them goes by J.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Zykowski or
Right.
something like that.
Mm.
I always wish. So, did you know that when you become a special agent in the FBI, you can either be identified as your first and last name or first initial, middle name, last name?
I did not know that, but that's fascinating.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know if my name would work for that.
Yeah,
I've tried it before.
Yeah.
I just don't think it works.
I
I
think
think some people have good names for that.
I think yours could work, but I don't like mine. I don't think mine could work with any
Yeah.
of that. I don't think it would be good. But I
No,
think
no,
yours
it really would
yours
not.
yours could, but it's a tricky thing. Like you got to have it's got to be the right
It is.
amount of syllables and just it's got to roll off the tongue or else it's just
Yeah,
you have
it's
no
got to
authority.
feel like I'm an FBI special agent. Is what it's got to
Right.
feel like. It can't
Exactly.
feel like this is this dude. You know what I'm saying?
I think any of
anyway,
these.
so-
I think any of these three Ziskowskis could totally do it though. They did any variation of their names.
Oh,
I think
the
they
last
totally could.
the last name just makes it where you could just automatically do that.
Absolutely.
So the thing about Creed, so basically, so Creed is a story about an adolescent boy who has access to going into this dream world. Okay, when he's in the dream world, he can manifest all manner of like dream powers. Imagine like lucid dreaming. if you were able to in your dream like sprout Wolverine claws or suddenly have like 3 heads and like bite the hell out of somebody or anything you can imagine,
Yeah.
he can basically do.
Mm.
He tends to favor uh sets of like Wolverine, like bone style Wolverine
Mm-hmm.
claws is like a thing that he typically tends to do, or claws that come out of his actual fingers.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a little bit Katie bar the door. I have not read a lot of Creed. I've not read any Creed besides this. But I did do some research to try to give you guys a bit of a background.
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty cool comic. I'm a big fan of the storytelling in this issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard because you're in the middle of a comic run.
Yeah.
And while this feels self-contained, it feels also very Creed dream worldy,
Mm-hmm.
like dream worldy, which we're not really in that story. So it
Yeah,
feels a little disorienting, but I do like the way that Kaduga tells the story here. This story is called Dreamstone. And it goes into this thing basically saying it's kind of telling a bit of a tale here that it happened in the cold winter months of last Christmas or so. No, it was a little earlier than that. I remember because it was right after my birthday. It was really cold in New York. And you go back to Creed and his buddy. I guess Creed's real. Like it's not Creed. His name is Mark. Is the adolescent in this story?
Yeah, I just referred to him as Creed just because I forgot. But yeah.
I think everybody kind of does. But he's sitting. I'm trying to find that. I'm trying to remember the name of this other character he's talking to. This older guy.
Is it
hippie?
Is it Tim? Tim Bleeman?
Tim. Yeah, it's Tim.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's Tim. So your boy Mark is laying back in kind of this like kind of dude's like comic shop or something like that, and they're just having a conversation that Mark has this book that's like super old, and he's got a little frog with him. I don't know about the frog. I didn't do any research into like who the frog is. There's a frog on his shoulder that's his little buddy, I guess, and they're hanging out. And he's kind of just getting on Tim about like, oh my God, like you got like the oldest books in the world. Like you should like get rid of a bunch of these because like this thing was printed like 1,000,000 years ago. And Tim's like an old kind of hippie looking guy. He's like, nah, man, like these are these are like some awesome stories tucked away in these books, man, and whatever. And all of a sudden he pulls out like this box though, and he's like, oh, and Mark's like instantly like, well, that's cooler than what I'm looking at. What is that? And he's like.
Right.
I don't know. I just found it behind some of these old books. So I'm gonna say this: like a lot of people say something, comma man, like that's just all throughout the dialogue. Like it's like I don't know, man. What are you doing, man? What's happening, man? It's like even the turtles say it, which is weird. Yeah. So effectively, like this wooden box when open contains like a glowing green stone, and they're like Mark's trying to kind of figure out what it is. He kind of makes a reference like, do you think it's like like some of that crypto crap? Which I don't know if he's talking about like kryptonite, or something like that. If that is
that's what it seems
in this world.
Yeah, that's what it seems like.
Yeah, it says you can maybe use it to take out all of them super guys. Or whatever. And for a reason, your boy Tim's like, I don't know, but it takes a lot of responsibility. Anyway, here, kid, take it. And he's like, really? Wow, thanks, man. So he goes walking through the street, and there's a lot of. It's obvious that we're missing out on a bunch of story, and this kind of does frustrate me a little bit. Not, and I'm not like angry at the creators or anything like that. Like, I hate not knowing what's going on in the story.
Right.
And obviously. Absolutely. Mark and his like frog friend who doesn't really talk to anyone when anyone else is around. Like he only talks to Mark when it's just Mark, right? Right. And Mark is frustrated. Mark's like, dude, like why don't you ever talk to other people? And he's just like, I don't know. I'm just me, bro.
Yeah.
But the frog does speculate that may be an actual piece of the dream world that Mark can go to. So Mark's like, well, that's pretty nuts then, because this thing's in the real world. And he's like, oh, yeah, no, like, probably pretty nuts. Well, they decided to take the short way home. And the problem with the short way is that gang hunks hang out in the short way home. You know what I'm saying?
Gang hunks.
Like,
yeah.
You're gonna have to pay the troll toll to get the short way home. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And Sure enough, round in the corner, hey kid, what you got in the box? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Him and his friend Silent Bob are back there hanging out. And effectively, we see now the turtles are up on a rooftop, like looking down at the situation. I'm actually kind of a big fan that it looks like, I believe that's Mikey is yawning. That's kind of funny. In this first panel. So I don't know about you, okay, but go back to the page previous, page 6, and look at the art here, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
It feels to me like Trent's rushing through this page, especially the bottom of this page, right? There's a lack of detail in some stuff. It's a lot more impressionistic. Go to the next page.
Oh yeah.
Night and day. Like,
yeah.
It feels like
Definitely.
everybody involved, from Trent, the minute Trent, like I'm on first name basis.
Right.
Trent Kanuga. When pencil went to paper, all the way through the digital coloring, everyone said, "Oh damn, the turtles are on this page. We ought to step it up." You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
It just feels like things go up in detail. Things go
it
HD.
Does.
I love the artwork here. I love this artwork. These I would read. I'm telling you, I would read an entire actual comic run of turtles that look just like that.
Absolutely.
Like
same thing. Same here.
That's on that corner of that rooftop with that ice, with that moon, with that sky, the whole 9 yards. I'd read an entire 80-issue run. They look just like that. I love that art. All of a sudden, a lot of everybody's talents, like I said, from pencils to color to finishing, come out. Even in the bottom panels, right? These are human characters that are drawn in Kanuga style. Love it. I'd read a whole thing of that.
Yeah.
Great stuff. So I just want to give a lot of props to a comic that we are on the journey. We're only going to dip into one issue of Kanuga's work and we're going to leave, basically. Wanted to throw some hype because those are my turtles right there.
Absolutely.
Like, they look amazing. Right?
Yeah, totally.
There's so much to love about those guys. So effectively they're starting to pick on this kid, and then they kind of remember that I guess he messed them up like real bad before.
You're talking about
the
hunks, the not the turtles, but the hunks, right?
Of course.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. Why would he say
I'm just saying, because we were talking about the turtles, and you're like, they messed him up, and I was just making sure that everyone knew that we were talking about the what'd you call them, the street hunks or the alley hunks?
Alley hunks.
Alley hunks.
Something like that.
Yeah. I just want to make sure that
it turns out the alley hunks start out like, "Yo kid, what's in the box? That looks fancy." Then they go, "Wait a minute. You're the kid that screwed us up around. You screwed around with us before and you messed us up." To quote, "That's why you and your little froggy friend aced my kid brother in Smooth, right?"
Yeah, what's that about?
That's alley hunk talk. You know what I'm saying? That's that alley hunk lingua. I don't know anything about it. Yeah. But turns out, I love it. I love that Mark's like, "Hey, CJ, do something," because that's the name of the frog. The frog's like, I can't.
I
love that shit.
I have a performance anxiety.
Mark's like, "Well, it's real inconvenient because you're the one that told me to take the short way home." You know what I'm saying? You told me to take the short way home. You're the one that said, "Hey, Mark, man, come on, man. I'm a frog. It's cold. Let's take the short way home." And he's like, "Well, I want to do that because alley hunks hang out there and beat you up." And he's like, "I'm going to take care of it." It's like, "All right, come on, CJ." He's like, "Can't, man. Sorry." I'm like, "All right, that works." So, upon the threat, and I guess this all happened when his kid brother got aced Smooth was in Creed #1. So if you want to go back, that should all happen in Creed #1. On threat of being skinned alive, turns out that's when the turtles jump in with a back off jerky. That is Leo coming down. Once again, great art here. One page splash. Just like I said, those turtles. I'd just read all the turtles if they looked like that. It'd be fantastic.
Absolutely.
Come down, just destroying. You see teeth getting knocked out, man. Like, it's not like, what I like about it is it definitely feels like really smooth, but like the comic still feels like independent. It's not like going Image, like, and then everyone's skulls got cracked open, like,
right.
But it's not afraid to show the violence, and this next panel is great. So effectively, our our lead Alley Hunk now puts a gun to Mark's head because he's like, well, this got really kind of crazy out of nowhere. So let's slow this down with a gun. I love this narration. Instant silence interrupted for a moment. I think everyone was just trying to make sense of what was going on. But I love in the background that, like, I believe that's Donnie is like, heh, like in the background. Like he sees the gun and he's like, oh yeah, this is gonna be awesome.
Right.
So Alley Hunk says, checkmate, Jack, which sounds like something Joe Biden says. Like if Joe Biden put a gun, he's like,
oh yeah,
checkmate, Jack, with his aviators on. He'd be like,
oh yeah,
damn, old Joe got me. You know what I'm saying?
Old Joe got me.
That's what happened. So Raph's, no, not Raph, another turtle in the background, probably Donnie, is trying to tell Leo to go easy. He's like, easy, man, like the kid, like, just chill out. And of course, Alley Hunk's like, you make a move, and they'll be scraping this kid's brain matter off the walls for a week. And there's a lot of crap talking that happens. But in the middle of all this, the little wooden box that holds the Dreamstone falls eventually with CJ. We see this happening all throughout the previous panels.
Right.
The Dreamstone bounces out of this box, and now we see the Alley Hunk put the gun to Leo's head. But this, I guess, activates the Dreamstone, which is kind of weird. Which causes it to like kind of create like a green force field that like pops out.
Right.
And very reminiscent of like your Mirage 4 type situation where everyone's getting zapped, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it looks similar to that with the greens. And I love how Donnie's like, friggin' A, man.
Oh yeah.
Which is what everyone said in the 90s.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
everybody said, friggin' A, like in the 90s. So I feel like that was actually
it's appropriate.
Very good. So all of a sudden, you've got Mark, CJ, one Alley Hunk, and two turtles missing now. Because that thing just warps them away.
Yep.
Jay runs away. He's like, I'm good. Bye. And this leaves the turtles to wonder what's going on. So they go back to Splinter.
Oh man,
this Splinter. Okay, I don't know if I'd be reading a comic with this Splinter in it.
No, I don't know that your boy has ever seen a rat before. Apparently, this sounds like somebody.
I don't know if
this sounds like somebody that like heard like the first like half an explanation of a rat, what a rat is, and then thought that, well, that sounds like bat. So let me just combine some mixture of the two and make that, because this looks horrifying.
I will say that this Splinter may have a home in the 80 issues I read of the alternate history where Kanuka does an entire TMNT series by himself that I read.
Right.
I might be in for this Splinter, but you'd have to really like sell me on like the Splinters like this. But it is definitely a unique interpretation of Master Splinter.
It totally is.
So they consult Master Splinter about all things astral plane. And when Splinter starts to look at it, he can see them in this like dream world where they've been transported. And he says that they're alive, but there's nothing that the turtles can do to help. We then flash into the dream world where Alley Hunk has been turned into a sunflower.
I still love that you call it,
which I guess
Alley Hunks.
Which I guess is a fitting demise for Alley Hunk. And meanwhile, the turtles and Mark are trying to figure out what's happening, but they're sitting on like a rock. It basically looks like the field of that warp stone like opened up and literally scooped up, like kind of like in Terminator, whenever a Terminator warps in, that ball of energy comes out, and then whatever was in that is like gone. Like like the metal, like the fence is like burnt, like melted, like right in the perfect like sphere,
right,
like the side of that truck that one time.
Yeah,
it kind of feels like it did that. Like it basically scooped up
Yeah, the same thing. I was gonna say, the same thing happened in the Masters movie, where they have a warp thing that takes them to Castle Grayskull from the '80s, and it's like, you see the wall and some grass, and like it's just like they've been like cut out and then just transported to that thing.
Yeah. So they're sitting on a patch of green grass with some dirt under it. Your boy is I said Alley Hunk is now a sunflower, and you've got like a corner of a building. That's basically it. They're like just standing there. And it turns out like your boy Mark knows plenty about the dream world, but the turtles are like, okay, cool, this sucks. And they're trying to kind of find a way around it, like how they can kind of get out of all this. And it turns out Mark, the first thing Mark does is just kicks Alley Hunk's little sunflower ass right off the side of that thing. He's like, all right, cool, see ya. And kicks him the hell out of there, which is great.
Yeah.
So the turtles are freaking out, and like Mark's talking about like trying to find the stone. He's just like, well, if we can find the stone, then maybe we can figure things out. But one turtle's concerned that it may have gone over the edge of this whole thing. So things get a little confusing here. Leo finds like one of his katana, which is cool. And then Ninjato if you're dirty. And then this part doesn't make any sense to me. I still don't know. He says, I found my other katana, and Mark says, great, you're going to need it. He's like, what do you mean? And then Mark says, well, you see, there's this pack of demons that just sort of pop out of nowhere.
Oh, okay.
And then, of course, and I guess the whole thing is that's a dream world thing from, like, the other issues where, like, I guess when you're in the dream world, that is, like, your natural predator is, like, these random demons.
That makes sense. Stands to reason.
But it turns out that the other turtle, who I've yet to identify,
it's Raphael.
Falls.
I think it's Raphael.
It's Raphael. He falls into a hole, like on this little rock thing, and so they look down, and he's at the bottom of this hole, which is now obviously way too deep and big to have been on that little chunk of earth. So they've moved to another place. So they hop down after him, and they run into a person that I want to get his name right because they name him later, and I'm like, well, that's a name for that guy.
I think it's
hold on a second.
they just got so far they've only described him as
Shrapnel.
Okay, because it looked like they were just describing him as whoa freaky, and then
Shrapnel. Who?
Yeah.
I mean, this almost looks like some old Mirage work here.
It
like
does. It does. There's something about it that looks like there's a video game or there's something particular that this evokes, and I can't put my finger on it, but it's pretty good. I like what they're doing with it and stuff. It's a little messy and confusing, but it's still very neat and very well done. But that's an interesting way to make your
so Shrapnel
appearance.
Looks like Nivek Ogre from Skinny Puppy, like riding a combination of like several like beasts that look like dragons, but they're all kind of multi-headed,
right?
Or they're all on top of each other. It's very confusing. He speaks in like runes. It's like very odd. He's got his mask on, and it's above his nose and below his chin, so he is intelligent. And he has the Dreamstone. And Mark's like, I don't understand what you're saying, but I want my damn glowing rock back, and we're gonna fight you for it. And this is when, of course, now Mark can sprout his claws because he's in the dream world. You know what I'm saying? He's like, we're gonna make that happen. So they go to it. Okay, there's a lot of fights that go down. Pretty bloody stuff. I mean, like, Raph just plants both Sai in the back of one of these beasts, and then says, "Shia, bite me." After that, and we're not saying clang, but we don't care. There is a ton of gore in this. I love it. It's really
I love
well
it so
done.
much. It's back to when the turtles were killing things, you know. Like you see Leo, see Leo down there, and he's like slicing somebody open, and he says, "Freaking jerk needs to learn how to share." I love that. Oh, I love it.
Yeah, like really, really great like combination of kind of funny, like little like repartee between between the various like moves in this attack sequence, but also great switch here to the bottom right corner of Leo in silhouette, like finally getting the sword free. You know, kind of harkens back to the other stuff we read earlier that Eric Larson did. Kind of all about it. Like I said, I mean, like I mean, Kanuga's got like just kind of like that look, like you like he really good at drawing like scary
absolutely.
shit like demons and dragons, like, because like they look fantastic, like they look
yeah.
otherworldly.
Absolutely.
They look like they couldn't really exist in real life,
Mm-hmm.
but they can because it's the dream world.
Mm-hmm.
And really cool, really cool art. And once again, it's a lot of fights going on, but great, god, just Leo on that next page, on page 21, just so good. Love it. So they're all kind of kicking the demon ass, as it were. And then of course, like I guess we make Ogre let go of the Dreamstone, which he probably would have loved to use in the Skinny Puppy live show, but unfortunately that's not to be. And Mark does get it back. And yeah, like, so they start talking about now, like when they kill these demons, this shrapnel character, all the different demons, that they basically just decompose, like like immediately upon death, they just like decompose.
Right.
And they talk a lot about it, like it's a really big deal. Like they're like, man, they just keep rotting, and even the other one, even he started rotting, and I don't understand. And it's like, all right, like yeah, that's cool. Like I said, like, but right toward the end of this, the Dreamstone activates again, and it winds up depositing Leo and Raph back in New York.
Yes.
And you have a narrative blocks of Mark kind of saying, like, you know, they left, so Mark's still in the dream world, but I mean he kind of half lives there,
right?
But it's basically him saying, I really wish that they could come back, or I really wish that they found their way home. And don't ask me how I knew so much about them. When we got zapped into the dream world together, it was like I had known them for a long, long time. And it's kind of cool, like where I really like the fact that, like, when the turtles are coming back, they're like, Donnie's like, you know, I think I'm just gonna forget all this happened.
Yeah.
And then like I think it's Mike. No, it's Raph's like, that kid was freaky. And then we go back like, and I think there's definitely supposed to be a little tail off ending to this that makes you want to, you know, go read that Creed #3 when it comes out. You know what I'm saying? Whenever that happens.
Yeah. Get it.
Creed is like, yeah, on the newsstand. You know, like go wait for it. Yep. So Mark is there, and he's kind of like, oh man, like I love this place, and he sees CJ the frog, who now is like on a little pedestal looking thing, and he's like, you fared well with shrapnel, Mark, but now I believe it is time we finally get to know each other and redetermine the nature of our association.
Oh,
he looks kind of like a demon.
He does. He totally does.
He's kind of like got some of that shrapnel demon look to him, kind of.
Right.
And Mark is like, the what?
What?
You know what I'm saying? Like Mark's like, what? What, right. Man? Like, what'd you say, man? And then and then you have kind of a pinup at the end of the comics, pretty cool. But yeah, like, what'd you think, dude?
So I mean, I thought
Creed and the TMNT.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good as far as the art and everything. The story moved along pretty good. There's not a lot of story there to grip you. I think it's just, you know, as far as the turtles are concerned. But like we've said plenty of times, the turtles in this alone like sell the book because they look fantastic. They look very similar to NECA's, the first turtle toys that NECA put out. They look dead ass similar to that. Like they just walked off the page of that. And yeah, and so the art is really good throughout this whole thing. I didn't really have any interest in it. I mean, there's a couple of things that maybe might have like got me, but like I don't know. There's something about it that never really hooked me with it. But for the turtles' appearance there, it was really cool, and I loved the fact that they got back to being a little bit more like, I hate to be like the guy that's like, oh, I want to see more violent turtles, because that's not, or I want my turtles darker. It's not necessarily that. It's just that I love that aspect of the turtles that I think often gets overlooked by the merchandising side, where they try to skew it towards kids and toys, and forgetting that these are ninja. These are like trained. They're trained to murder you. If they have to, and I love that they don't pull their punches. Like when the turtles don't pull their punches is usually some of the best stuff, and I really enjoyed that element of it. And again, the artwork sells this book. It's extremely well done, the coloring and just the inks and everything. So I mean, I'm sure it's a really well done book. I don't see myself ever reading it, but this step in the journey for the turtles, I think is pretty neat to see them in this context and done this way is great. So
once again, I mean, I would take like Trent Kanuga. I mean, did Mirage like have an open artist slot? I mean, like I mean, could Image have worked something out? Like
right.
Like the minute I saw, if I was Kevin or Peter, the minute I saw his turtles, I would be like, okay, cool. So like we're going to Mirage or we're going to Image, and we want you to do the art,
right?
So like, I just don't see how. I was just highly impressed with this iteration. The thing about the turtles, especially in the comics, you know, during like the whole Mirage guest artist era, we got to see a ton of artists do the turtles.
Oh yeah.
And that's just in Mirage. I mean, we're not even talking about the artists that went through Adventures and all the other things that you saw. These are some of the best turtles I've seen.
Absolutely.
And I would, I don't know I guess maybe Trent was like, I'm my own man. You can't hold me down. I'm going to do my own thing. But I'd be like, look, how much are you paying yourself to do Creed? Because I could probably pay you more to do Turtles. And I would just do 100 issues with him. I'd just be like 100 issues of this.
Absolutely.
Really loved it. Really loved it. Often I would just close to say that I wanted to give a special credit to this because oftentimes in crossovers, the turtles lose, right? Like typically in crossovers, a lot of times you have people that aren't really necessarily used to drawing the TMNT or you know what I mean? Like they kind of do their own, like they're like, well, I'm going to do it in my style. And like that can be for the better or worse. And here I think we definitely like profited from having seen like this iteration of the turtles.
Oh, absolutely. It's like, especially coming off of our review of the mini comic that came with the Savage Dragon toys. Like the fact that you're seeing somebody that's not related to Mirage take the turtles and not like bastardize them by any means, but in fact like just kind of like takes their, I don't know, it's hard to say because like, you know, anytime we see the turtles drawn by somebody else, it's usually their style take on the turtles, and that's a lot of what Mirage was anyway, because like, you know, once you get out of the first like 15, you start to have like a lot more guests come in and stuff, and so the turtles history is rife with them being drawn differently, but this feels the most like attuned to what Kevin and Peter saw and like how they drew like the original version of the turtles, and but still updated just slightly in a different way, like a skew a little bit, but to where it's like it's more in focus for that time period too, and it just it's great, and it's the subtlety that makes them stand out, and they're so good, and I think a lot of people forget about that, and they try to like it's. Anytime I see a crossover with the turtles and it's an artist that has to like make them add anything to them, it's the same feeling I got with the Platinum Dunes movie, where it's like, oh well, it's not enough. It's not enough that they're turtles and they got bandanas and ninja weapons. Let's give them all this other accoutrement. The only exception that I give is that giving Donnie more tech stuff that he would carry with him. That makes sense. That makes sense to me. The rest of them having anything else apart from like something small, maybe like a necklace or something weird, or like Mikey with a skateboard.
Well, in particular, the shell necklace on Mikey was a thing that I know you were a huge fan of them adding. So I feel like
I was
like I feel like you're right on the money there.
I mean, I got that. I don't have it right now, but I did have it for a while tattooed on my neck, like around me. But I don't want to stretch. Well, I have it. I just don't want to stretch my collar out on my shirt to show it. But like,
and the big thing too is like I know that around the time that the first art came out for that, you use those as prayer beads as well.
I did. I totally did.
Central to your faith. That was a big thing. And knowing that Mikey was always there, my man.
My man, exactly. You end all your prayers with
it was give me five my mans, and praise Shredder. I don't know,
something like that. Yeah, that works. But yeah, so there we go. So that's gonna do it for our TMNT crossover episode. Back into comics, which felt great, but yeah. So we're gonna I think we're back into manga next episode, which is gonna be neat. Yeah, it's a return to the origin story, but in a manga form, and a lot more villainy and a lot more like just dastardliness, if you will, from our known favorite villains, Shredder and Bebop and Rocksteady, all those guys. Yeah, so it's going to be fun. So if you're new here, be sure to like, subscribe, go to iTunes and rate, review, subscribe, go to YouTube, subscribe, do all that stuff so you don't miss anything. And but if you want to make sure you get everything, I'm going to run down a whole list of things that you can follow. Go to turtlesoupshow.com. Turtlesoupshow.com, the home of the internet. Got all the episodes up there. You can download and listen to them. It's where it all started. You can also let us know, which we really want to know, like, what's your favorite crossover with the Turtles? Which ones, like, do you wish they would cross over with? Like what properties? And like, let's see, what's something else? What are we gonna ask? It's down at the bottom. I should just read that. So which ones do you think, or excuse me, why do you think the Turtles like work so well in crossovers? Like, why is it that they're like a property that just seemed to just go with everything? They're kind of like the color black that just, in an outfit, it just goes with everything. And is there anything that you think that they would never work with, like a property that's just like so outlandish that the Turtles just could not work with? Let us know that by either in the comments here on YouTube or write us at turtlesoupshow@gmail.com. You can send us the hotline, voicemails.
Hotline.
Exactly. And you can send us emails, whatever you want to do, and we'll play it on the show. Then let's see. Then there's the Facebook group, Turtle Soup Show Facebook group. Just look at it on Facebook or look for it on Facebook, and that's where a lot of our stuff. Just look
at it on Facebook.
Just look at it on Facebook. That's what you do.
Just look at it.
Sorry, it's been a minute since we've done this, so I'm getting the rust kicked out. Instagram Turtle Soup Show with the underscores between each word, and then like I said, rate, review, subscribe on wherever you're listening to us at, or if you're watching us on YouTube, again, like and subscribe.
Like the videos, subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Hit the bell icon, get them notifications, smash that like button.
Oh my Lord. Yep, just exactly like that. And and if you want to go the extra mile, you could do that by going to our Patreon and finding that, patreon.com, finding that Turtle Soup's dumb to making a podcast. And we got a bunch of new stuff up there. Still updating it, but the majority of it's there. And we got a lot more fan interaction stuff that we're going to include, and a lot more music that we're going to be doing that you're going to have a say in if you're a patron. And we're going to be doing a lot more polls where if you're a patron, your vote gets a little bit extra. It's like a little more RAF. And so that's going to help out with helping to support the show and to making it to where we don't say clan and keeping the Foot Clan from destroying the podcast. And it's going to go to helping me get a better back. Like we're going to try to get the artists from the 90s, so like Jim Lawson and like Liefeld and all that. We're going to try to get them to design me a brand new Colossus back. Maybe just the right side of me would just be Colossus.
That's what you needed. You just need that waist.
Yeah,
to have that Colossus steal Band's business, and you'd be in great shape.
And I mean, with that kind of support from
missed that?
Yeah, exactly. With that kind of support from the support of our patrons, I think I'll be in good shape.
How could we go wrong?
Exactly.
So, I mean, if you are a patron, also, you might want to check out our Discord server. We have a bunch of people on there now, and get the conversation started there. And if you are a patron, you get the family role when you join Discord, which gives you access to special chats and special voice chats and text chats and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true.
And more access to the no Homework Zone coming up on Discord with its own channel on Discord.
Absolutely. So guys, I think that's going to do it for us today. So else time.